And we are here today for the arraignment of Donald Trump. Welcome in, everyone. This is the Red Future Radio Special Report Live with coverage of this historical event. Joining me now is the co-host of this coverage, the one and only president of Red Future Radio, Samuel McGuire. Welcome, Sam.
What's going on? It's good to be here, Josh. It's awesome to be back in front of the mic, man. So
Yes.
Missed it too much.
You've been off too long, my man. You've been off.
I know.
Gone away for too long. We are glad to have you back here. Gonna have special guests in and throughout the stream. Trying to see if I can get Fox News pulled up here for you all to check out. Just kind of doing the coverage because they have overhead cameras of New York. They have crazy coverage, as we're going to have here. Also going to get Right Side Broadcasting pulled up. Just doing a lot of whatever we can to get you all sort of in the loop of what's going on. We appreciate you choosing us for this breaking coverage for the first time in American history. A former president or current president of the United States has been arraigned in any sort of indicted in any sort of case, and we have a guest actually here to talk about that as well. We're going to get to in just a little bit. All right, just kind of get everything going here. I'm going to try to share some stuff if you'd like to kind of entertain the crowd, Sam.
Yeah, so obviously you see the president that's probably, caused the most type of disruption, I think, in American politics ever in American history is now being basically politically prosecuted and persecuted. And it's very sad to see. And it makes you wonder, what's going to happen in the future and for other, coming presidents down the road, because you have someone like Bill Clinton, George W. Bush's, both Bushes, you know what I mean? Very corrupt people, never had to face any type of scrutiny like President Donald J. Trump has. And, we hope that we can see him clear through this. But, from what I can see and just from what I can tell, kind of being an outsider, obviously these dark, evil, nasty people control most of the government and most of what's going on. So, if he gets out okay and is not charged and is not obviously put in jail and whatnot, I will be very, very surprised just because how powerful and, evil and, power hungry these people are, at the top. And, they'll do whatever they can to, destroy the American people's will to be free. And that's exactly what they're doing.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I want to get in here as well. The Kentucky Liberty Virtue, a great Twitter account, he actually has some information he said about this and how this is unprecedented here. He's joining the discussion now. Welcome in, sir.
Hi, thank you guys for having me on. My main topic I wanted to talk about is why haven't past former presidents haven't been indicted. There are many issues with recent events, recent former presidents like Richard Nixon, to the eyes of the American people, whether it was right or wrong, had the Watergate scandal. Why hasn't he got indicted for that? President Bill Clinton had his impeachment with a sex scandal with Monica Lewinsky. Why hasn't he got indicted with that?
Not to mention as well, kind of hopping in here, Paula Jones was literally the exact same thing we're seeing here. The scandal with him paying off Paula Jones is the same thing that's happening right here, right now, in this trial. The same sort of situation, campaign funds, because of the politics. Same thing, but because of Donald Trump, it's a different sort of set of rules.
Right. This next one, George W. Bush, there's no need to explain what happened to him with his war scandals and being a bit of a war criminal there with starting the 20-year Iraq war in Afghanistan. So why haven't these people gotten indicted while President Trump has for a bit of hush money? That's the $1 million question we have today.
Yeah. And, not to be arrogant or rude or anything, but obviously it's pretty easy when you answer that question. I'm guessing you both know this, and obviously a lot of the people listening to the stream do as well. He is a big threat to the powers that be. You know what I mean? The people keeping us in control and basically pulling the strings. And that's exactly why he's being indicted. And it's not why Richard Nixon or a lot of these other former presidents were indicted, because they weren't that big of a threat. They were able to be hushed up and kicked to the side. But obviously President Trump with the power and the influence, money, everything that he has, it's a much harder fight for the deep state. And yeah, people can laugh and say whatever they want. Oh, you believe in a deep state? Absolutely. You know what I mean? There's been a deep state probably since the country has been formed, right? So
Yes, sir.
uh,
I want to
we
hop
got
in here
to
really quick before we go on. The Rumble stream we have going on now for the first time. Red Future Radio streaming on Rumble. We have 12 people watching over there, so thank you for being there. Not accounted for on our whole thing there. We have some friends in the chat. Let's go. They said ANTIJ1111 and MJKATW. Hey guys, thank you for listening as well. Wanted to give a shout out to the Rumble family there. If you're watching on YouTube, watching on Facebook, watching on whatever platform, get over to Rumble and use that platform as well. Sam, go ahead.
No, I was just saying Rumble. I just wanted to make a quick shout out to Rumble. Rumble is the platform. You know what I mean? We got to take over YouTube. Steve will do it. All of those wonderful guys, Louder with Crowder. You know what I mean? We got to make the transfer over to Rumble. So, if you could, please do everything you can to support and watch Rumble videos. We really need that to take over the streaming world and just video world in general, because YouTube is a dying platform.
And we apologize for hopping in so soon, so early, so early than we were supposed to because of the big coverage. He's on his way, according to Fox News and people. He's en route to the courthouse. Let me pull up here Jason Miller's Twitter account. Jason Miller is obviously a close confidant of the president, someone who's very good friends with the president, and he is actually covering it. He's in the motorcade. He's in, I don't know which vehicle of the motorcade he's in, but he's done pretty big coverage there. Hide everything we have to here. And share the screen.
For the listeners and for myself, Josh, is Jason Miller the CEO of Getter, or was at one point?
I know he was. I don't know if he still is or not, but I know
he still is.
He still is? Okay, so he's with the president and he's on Getter. I don't know where he got this picture from, if this is outside of Trump Tower, what it is. But there's he leaving. There's kind of the route of vehicles, as you can see on the stream here. Hope you all can see that pretty well. As he's just kind of traveling through the motorcade. These are obviously, I'm guessing, pictures taken from his cell.
Have we seen a lot of anti-protest, Josh, on the stream?
There's been a lot. Marjorie
Yes.
Taylor Greene, and I want to see if I can get this stream in here from right side. They interviewed Marjorie Taylor Greene in the back of an SUV, and they kind of talked about the counter-protesters are seeing there. Let's pop this in here. Can y'all hear this?
In a car right now, joined
good.
with Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene. I couldn't put in words what we just went through about 20 minutes ago. I knew the media was here. We knew there was a crowd here, but I did not think they were going to respond like they did.
Well, honestly, it was getting through the press. That was the hardest part, to get to the park bench. We didn't have a stage set up. This was a true protest, everyone. It wasn't organized and funded like you see the left, how they organize and fund. But the hard part was getting from the car to the actual park bench inside the park, inside the safety of the park, where NYPD was set up to protect protesters. Remember, this is a peaceful protest. We're using our constitutional rights. But yeah, we were swarmed, unbelievably swarmed. And then, of course, guess who was out there, Brian? You saw them, the people that bring
we're
their
interrupting
whistles.
this now.
They bring all
I'm
kinds of
interrupting this
instruments.
stream here. According to Newswire, which is a pretty trustworthy source, Donald Trump is now under arrest.
He is.
Donald Trump has surrendered. He's under arrest. They're not saying why or how or what's going on. There was not a perp walk. Okay, we did not see
No perp
footage
walk?
of him going in. There was not a perp walk. Did not see him go into the courthouse. There's no coverage of that whatsoever. But he's under arrest. He's surrendered to authorities per the Newswire organization, a pretty trustworthy source in that regard. So Donald Trump is under arrest. He has surrendered to authorities. We did not see a perp walk. We did not see him going in here, getting handcuffed, getting processed. But he is now under arrest. What are your thoughts?
Wow. Really kind of just explains what we were saying earlier in the show about, is Donald Trump, fighting for the people, or is he kind of just one of those presidents that are being, puppeted around and playing an acting role? And, if this is for real, and if Donald Trump is really going to get, arrested, it kind of, I don't know. I just, to put this out there, because obviously I've had a podcast, 105 episodes now, and I've been talking a lot about Donald Trump and what the path forward is for our country and whatnot. And obviously, I've been hard on Donald Trump. It comes to the vaccines. You know what I mean? For instance, he's not been doing very good at calling out the vaccines and whatnot. But anyway, maybe there's just something that I'm wrong on with that. But if Donald Trump is really going to get arrested here and he's really going to be guilty and be put in the cell and basically rot, who knows what's going to happen to him, right? It's very sad, and you know what I mean. It makes you really want to fight, and yeah, it's something that I honestly didn't think was actually going to happen, to be honest.
I didn't think it was going to happen either, especially without a perp walk. We were talking about how they want the mugshot. Trump wants the mugshot. He wants his face plastered there with the bars behind him with the orange jumpsuit. But there wasn't a perp walk. There wasn't anything like that.
That's probably something they did not to let, because, man, what a wonderful historic picture that will last forever. You know what I mean? And that we absolutely know that we could use this for our, into our advantage and whatnot, to get people riled up and whatnot. So I'm guessing the powers that be, did everything they can to make sure that doesn't happen. So
I would have bought a MAGA hat. I would have bought a Trump hat with his face on it, or a shirt with his face on it. I don't know about y'all, but I would have done that. And I've bought plenty of Trump hats, and I'm putting a Trump hat on. We are going to make America great again. We're going to stand with Trump. As always, we're going to stand and fight for this country and fight for Donald Trump. Yeah, I mean, we have to, especially now. They did not give him the perp walk. They did not give him what he was looking for. But he is being processed ahead of the arraignment, according to Fox News now, according to Right Side Broadcasting and Newswire. All the organizations are pretty much saying, yes, he is being processed. Kentucky Liberty Virtue, you have anything to say?
Well, let's talk about the 2024 presidential primaries right now. As someone who's probably going to stay out, I think we need to unite behind President Donald Trump, because he's being prosecuted right now for over the hush money, and anyone who's running against him simply hasn't have a convincing reason to be the better option than him. And especially these past few days, where it was unexpected for him to be arrested, because beforehand, with the original rumors of President Trump being prosecuted and arrested, it took a few days to find out, and it came unexpectedly.
Definitely unexpected. Definitely without the perp walk, it was not expected to happen. I mean, they expect people to be able to see Trump being kind of ushered into the courthouse. I think what they saw was going to happen with Marjorie Taylor Greene walking through the crowd. Not sure how far we can go back on the Rumble stream here to when she was walking through the crowd, but it was dangerous. The way that she was mobbed and mobbed through. I think we actually have that footage here. Give me
if you
just
guys
a
pull that out,
second.
that'd be great.
Right, Marjorie Taylor Greene's her approval ratings in New York City are just horrible. They're in the single digits.
I cannot.
Here's some old footage here.
Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Marjorie Taylor Greene getting out. So there's
Prime
her
time,
SUV.
99.
Hi guys, we're live here in Lower Manhattan. Mitch is now joining us. We are waiting for Marjorie Taylor Greene to
Welcome to the
exit
chat,
the vehicle. I was just wanting to know which direction they were coming over. That's why I was basically asking, because I want to make sure we're in the right spot. Obviously, the mayor has spoken out against her being here, and I would imagine that the majority of protesters here would love nothing more than to vocalize their
protesting and rioting. There's going to be some explicit language there.
Oh, let it run, Josh.
I didn't pause it. I did not pause it.
The explicit language is wonderful.
It
love nothing more than to vocalize their distaste.
There's a hiccup right there. I can't
There's
hear.
going to be a lot of people
That's
now.
her door.
I'm
She's
waiting
walking
for
out, at this
the
point in
police,
stream.
and I don't see
This was
apparently
from
the police were
10:34 this
making a
morning.
wall. Here we go.
She's being swarmed. It's just like a mixture of media, just
She's not even out of the car yet.
New Yorkers. And I love how all of the New Yorkers, especially these boneheads that live in that city, none of them are masked up. Where's the mask?
Exactly. Where's the masks?
They're 6 feet either.
You can see her glasses, I think, just barely popping above the head. Shouting, go back to Georgia. There's the right side correspondent just kind of popping his head in there.
Still don't even see her. Oh, there she is.
She's in the middle of all of these people that are surrounding her.
I wonder if a lot of the people surrounding her are
I don't know these people. Let's take it.
There's the whistle, which is technically illegal in New York City.
Back up! Back up!
Yeah, you're back up!
She gets him to put up the bench, which is where they were using for the rally. She gives it a speech here. You can't really hear what she says in the speech at all, which is very hard to hear. At this point, I want to fast forward to where she's leaving because they actually stopped media and not allow them to leave.
Where is she planning on going, Josh?
She's going back to the cars where she's trying to leave to.
Oh, where was she? What was she doing there anyway? Trump Tower?
She's going to the car and then she's going out to she's going to Mar-a-Lago this evening.
Democrats are the ones who have nothing to campaign for because they are failures and they're proving it today. I want to thank the New York City Young Republicans for organizing this protest. I want to thank the press who are here today to cover this protest and allow me to speak and spread my words. And I would like to thank patriotic Trump supporters who are here today.
USA! 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 He's good. He's good.
I can't even hear what she's saying. She's trying to speak and you just can't even hear her.
Another round of applause! Another round of push it down. Conspiracy theorist is coming through. Get out of the way, guys.
Can you mute that for a minute? This is
stop pushing right now. Media, stay there. Push, man. Let's go. I'm with him. Stop pushing. Nobody's moving now. Stop right here. Everybody.
There's no footage of her actually getting into the car. So they eventually get out and you can see her leaving.
Too many people
But
pushing
I
right
don't
now.
believe there's footage of her getting inside of the SUV.
Because everybody wants to press this. There's no.
I'm actually
You're all
done
gonna have to
listening to
exit
that.
the other way. Stop. There's no reason you're coming. I said stop like 7. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Congressman, what do you say to Westchester? We gotta come through this.
It's just whistles and noise and just bad. It's just bad environment.
Who's ever blowing the whistle has some serious problems.
That's just a protester that has no life. It's a no-life protester. For everybody watching now on Rumble, make sure you hit that thumbs up button wherever you're watching. Thank you for joining us. Share on Facebook and YouTube and Twitter and retweet and all the like.
And also Rumble.
And also Rumble, absolutely.
Rumble is the platform. Oh, I heard the F-bomb. Get the F out of my city. That guy's wound up.
Welcome in New York City. Get the fuck out.
There he is. Wow.
Now let's talk about the truth. Now let's talk about the truth.
Let's hear the
Get out of
truth.
here. Get out of here. Get the fuck out of my city.
Oh, get the F out of my city. Oh, my.
Now let's talk about the truth. Congressman, what do you have to say to the petition?
Hey, can we go to New York after this?
What is it?
Can we go to New York after this?
Me and you?
I don't know why we're not there.
I wish we could be, man. I wish.
Dude, that is a madhouse.
It is, absolutely. I'm gonna go to Fox News now. They have footage from inside of the courthouse.
Yeah, they got footage. Yeah, this is pretty neat here. I've been watching it here on the TV to the left.
I'm gonna put in the audio here.
Country, but I, Eric, have never met someone with more backbone. He also makes the point. He says Alvin Bragg has shut down the entire city, called up 38,000 NYPD police officers, closed down the FDR, and is spending $200 million of city funds for a $130,000 non-disclosure agreement. Eric Trump goes on to say, I never thought I would see this political corruption in our country. I guess, Jonathan, when prosecutors go after a target, they don't care how much it costs. They just want to try to get a kill.
Well, that's it. The problem is that this case has a thrill-kill feeling about it. When you look outside that
leader is arrested, whatever.
There are people who are truly thrilled by this prospect, but it is not a thrilling prospect for many of us. We'll have to see what is in this indictment, but what we have heard previously over weeks and months really raised serious concerns for many of us, that this is not blind justice, that there is no way that this charge would ever have been brought against anyone but Donald Trump. They're just working too hard. And that does play into the venue issue. I agree with everything that was said previously. I've brought venue change motions. They're routinely turned down. I had one case that I thought was a lead pipe cinch for a motion. And it was still turned down. Judges tend not to transfer high-profile cases. And part of it is because they believe the United States is a media-saturated environment, and you're not going to get away from that, particularly with someone like Donald Trump. But you also don't have a DA who ran on the promise to bag Trump and was elected into office by people in this district based partially on that pledge. That's something you don't often have in the mix of a venue change. And the question is whether the judge is going to want to make some type of gesture to the many people in the country who feel this is a political prosecution by at least moving this out of Manhattan. But I think that what you're going to see is that this is sort of Super Tuesday, a legal Super Tuesday for Donald Trump. This is the beginning of a new type of presidential campaign. We haven't faced this issue since a socialist named Debs ran for office while incarcerated. This president is going to be running on this issue, and the public may be voting on it. And so starting today, we're going to have a presidential election like one we've never seen before, where the criminal justice system itself may be on the ballot.
Andy, I want to ask you about what is going on behind closed doors right now. We got a shot inside the courtroom. We obviously don't have eyes on the former president, but what is happening now as we speak is that there is
footage of him walking inside the courthouse here.
When we next see him walk out those doors,
it's coming up. My TV's a little bit faster than yours here. It's coming up.
Is he going to be under arrest? What do you talk about, or how do you talk about this moment we're living through right now?
Yeah, there's a common understanding, Julian, of what arrest is. You know, people think of getting handcuffs slapped on you on the street. What it really means legally is that your capability to leave is no longer your own. In that sense, he is under arrest now because he has surrendered on the charges, and it'll be an arrest on his his future criminal record. What typically happens in this situation?
The Fox Nation here for a second.
So what's up with him? So I guess I think we're gonna have a.
Laptops. There is no communication allowed.
Can you mute that for a minute, Josh?
Yes, sir.
So being I guess he said they kind of, is he submitting? Is he saying that he's guilty to these charges, or he's
pleading not guilty on all charges?
Oh, okay, I didn't hear that part. I'm sorry, but
you're fine. He's pleading not guilty on all 34 charges.
Yeah, 34 too. And that's when I looked. When I was reading about this story earlier, obviously, it must have slipped or whatever, but I didn't understand that, or I didn't know that there was 34 felony charges.
34 felony.
Wonderful.
There he is walking into the courthouse there on footage from Twitter.
Yeah, what a savage. I mean, he's just.
I don't see any particular handcuffs or anything. Are they just
He's not
guiding
handcuffing him. They're not perp walking him.
Yeah, they ruled that out.
Okay.
There he is. And I didn't share the right tab. Here we go.
I was really
is an iconic photo.
Fist pump. Fist pump, Trump.
Make America great again, people. And we're gonna do it. We're gonna take this country back.
At this point, Josh, it's save America. You know.
Yeah, true. Do I have my Save America hat on hand?
Yeah,
I don't think my Save America hat's on hand, but I digress. We're gonna get back to the Fox Nation now because they have footage we don't. They are the real news. They're the corporate media.
Yeah.
The Secret Service is an excellent organization. The NYPD is probably the best police force in the world. The district attorney's office has good inspectors. What I assume is everybody is cooperating so that everybody gets what they need out of this. The police need to make sure he's processed. The Secret Service need to make sure he's safe. So I don't think the
we have to remember
going to try to rock the
Fox News is very liberal.
I think I'm going to get up and leave, which would then put people to
the other ones.
To the test of what their authority is. I think he's just going to roll with what they're doing.
Got 33 on Rumble now.
The
Thank you
Secret Service to keep him in a
hit that like button wherever you're watching.
location.
Thank you for the listeners on Rumble. Rumble is the platform.
And when the appointed time comes, they will bring him before a judge. I think we know who the judge is supposed to be. This Judge Merchan. At least that's what the Trump people have put out. And it should be.
Does anybody know anything about this judge in the chat?
Indictment. This will be an
what was the name?
When people are arrested
Merchan,
on a
I
police
think.
complaint, they call that a presentment, and you don't have to enter a plea. But here he's indicted, so that will be a formal arraignment, which means he'll enter a plea of not guilty. There isn't an issue of bail because this is a nonviolent offense. Under New York law, he'll be released on his own recognizance. And I guess the importance here is that the judge should begin to set a discovery schedule and a motion schedule. And as a number of my co-panelists here have pointed out, the motion schedule is probably the most important thing because I think this is a case that ought to be dismissed on the papers before it ever gets to trial.
Well, I think former President Trump is expecting.
Yeah, you would think, but that's exactly what they want to do, right? They want this thing
There's
to
that photo.
drag out.
That photo is going to be in the history books.
Yeah, this one here.
Yes,
it almost looks like we've seen that photo before.
This is on the 15th floor at 100.
Every time he goes somewhere and he's attacked, it's like the same pose, the same photo.
Yeah.
The same. The same.
Especially this one down at the bottom of the right here with his hand up.
Where he'll go in the courtroom. Again, no live cameras inside the courtroom, though, unless things have changed, and I don't believe they have.
What's up with the no live cameras? You know what I mean? They get to pick what courtrooms have live cameras and what don't. I mean, Amber Heard and Johnny Depp have a freaking basically TV series, recorded by theirs. There's several different angles, all kinds of stuff, right? But,
when it comes according to Judge Merchan, she was on the acting justice of the Supreme Court for New York. During the late 2000s.
Okay.
It has to be whoever. And to go back to the question about Amber Heard and their trial, that was in Virginia. The laws depend on the state. Like here in Ohio, state cases like the state Supreme Court have cameras. But New York's technically you're not allowed to have cameras in the courtroom. They made an exception. They're going to allow 5 journalists in for live or for not live shots, but for still shots for just photographs. So we're going to see that there, but it's not going to be big things that we're expecting to see. Like we're not expecting to see a live video footage. We're not expecting to see things like that. So we are just watching here. I don't know if this can catch up a little bit. I don't think my stream's up nice and current at this point.
If you all want to keep updating in the chat about this, for the court case, Newswire on Twitter is an excellent source that you should look into, as they'll keep updated.
Yes, sir. I'm keeping an eye. I have notifications on for Newswire, so we're keeping an eye on them as well.
I just got
We're getting back.
I just texted our next special guest. I won't say his name. Make sure we are able to get him on, and nothing has changed, but. It looks like we're going to be probably good for 2:00. I don't know if we're going to keep the gentleman from Kentucky. And I guess, do you have a first name? I don't know if I called that.
My name's Evan.
Nice to meet you, Evan. Yeah. Thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate you, having the courage and being young and coming on and talking about this stuff. And, obviously it's not the most interesting stuff in the world, but, it's definitely important.
This is a historic case, regardless whose political side you're on.
Yeah, it's definitely needs talked about, and
Yes.
people need to express their opinions. It's okay.
And Fox Nation is not allowing me to log in at this point. So,
all right. So, final words. Thank you all very much for having me on. If anyone lives in Wisconsin, vote for Justice Daniel Kelly.
Yes,
he is the option to vote for in there to save Wisconsin. And on May 16th of 2023, we'll have a Kentucky statewide primary.
But it's a great opportunity for the prosecution to make a public statement within the four corners of the indictment.
Thank you. Take care, Evan.
Given that Michael Cohen has served time for...
So this, I hope it's not as flashy for your screen for CNN. It's the only one I can get on the screen at this point. But it is there. We have it on. Can you all see it? All right, Sam, can you see it?
Yeah, I can see it fine. It's just obviously a little,
glitchy, but
and whatnot.
it's like it's
the audio.
If I was seizure prone, it'd be kind of messing me up here. So is our guest in the wings? Is he ready to hop on here with us? Is he?
I haven't received a text message back, but he's pretty on the ball. So I'm guessing 2 o'clock, and I'm excited for this one. I really so excited. I'm not even going to say nothing, because this is pretty special for him to come on and give us his 2 cents and what he thinks going on. I actually listened to his show. Yes, I'll give a kind of a little teaser right there. He does have a show. It's new. It's a new show.
It's an epic show.
Epic show. Yeah, it's wonderful.
Big fan of the show. He's here. All right.
Oh, all right.
Ready
wonderful.
to bring him in at this point. Joining us now is the host of the Unite Americans show, Mark Pukita. Welcome to the stream, sir.
Hey, Josh. Hey, Sam. How are you?
Good, Mark. Good. It's good to see you, man.
Good to see you guys.
Good to have you on.
It's been a while.
It's been too long.
Doing well.
Absolutely.
I wish it was under better circumstances, but it is what it is.
Oh, yeah.
We might have to do this more often. We might have to do this special report more often, as it seems pretty successful so far. People are liking it on the Rumble stream, so it's doing great. So what are your thoughts on the political? And it's funny, I still use my baseball bat as the ink pen just regularly in the studio. Thanks for those.
I got mine too. Don't worry.
You're welcome.
But what are your thoughts on this political persecution so far, with him being under arrest at this point in the courthouse? It's just I think it's a shame.
Well, unfortunately, it is a shame, and it's an abusive process, and it's a political prosecution. It appears the statute of limitations is expired. I mean, we can go on and on about that, but the most shameful thing about this is that we have low awareness of Americans, and they have no idea, for the most part, how heinous this is, because they just don't understand our legal system, our Constitution, the way our country is supposed to function. And to me, when people are gleeful, even if they don't like Donald Trump, when they're gleeful that this is happening, it just tells me that they're absolutely ignorant.
Absolutely. I mean, this is stuff that happens in, isn't this stuff that like Castro and the Cubans did, when they were taking,
right.
This is, you take down your biggest threat to the other side of the political aisle. Right. And,
absolutely.
I said this in the beginning of the stream, Mark. I've been pretty hard on President Trump, especially after 2020 and, with the COVID and whatnot, the vaccine and stuff like that. But, now I'm kind of wondering, like, man, was I a little too hard on him because and it's not like I lost faith in President Trump or whatnot, but I was really concerned about, what the future holds and what he's going to end up doing. But now you see that, he's actually being processed inside a New York courthouse. It almost seems like it's, not even real. You know what I mean? And if this is what America is going to be like for years to come, oh, Lord help us all. This isn't good.
I mean, you make a good point. Like where we are right now with this is, I mean, this is incredible that there are people in government and in positions of authority who have been elected who think this kind of behavior is okay. And the reality is, I don't believe they think it's okay. I think that they are sociopaths and psychopaths, and they will do anything to keep their power and control and to beat their opponents. And so Americans need to understand how evil and how mentally ill these people are. Alvin Bragg,
Mm-hmm.
you know, people like Nancy Pelosi, Adam Schiff, Mitt Romney, Adam Kinzinger, Liz Cheney. These people are mentally ill. And they're not people you would want to have as part of your family. They're not people you would want to have as next door neighbors.
Nope.
They're not people you would want to have teaching your kids or caring for your kids. These are evil people.
They absolutely are.
The Michael Cohen thing is also it's like, you know, people on the, like, let's say you're not even involved in politics at all, right? But like, you hear that story about Michael Cohen, and then, you know, you hear the story from the future of obviously the history between Michael Cohen and Trump, and you're like, how are people even falling for this? Like, this is a total scam, you know what I mean? From the beginning, obviously. But you know, they're doing everything they can, obviously, to, you know, take control of that political dynasty that Trump is holding on to and waking up the people and basically trying to run it into the ground and destroy it.
Yeah, it's just a travesty. You know, there's all kinds of words we can use for this, but it's criminal. It's a travesty. It's un-American. It's traitorous.
Mm-hmm.
None of those words are hyperbole either in this case. It's not like we're exaggerating. And that more Americans don't understand just how horrific this is pretty stunning.
Absolutely. I mean, we really should be, like, I'm not trying to be all weird and sissy like and stuff, but, you know, during the stream and when you're watching the news and stuff, you know, obviously I wasn't around 9/11 during 9/11, but, you know, watching the news and seeing like, oh, 2 planes crashed into the World Trade Center, you know, it kind of puts that, like, I don't know, emotional thing in your heart, you know, looking at the TV, Trump being processed inside New York courthouse. I mean, it kind of like makes you a little bit emotional, right? And you know, it kind of stinks because it's very, very serious. And you know, one thing I wanted to ask you, Mark, is there's something that I expected to happen was a perp walk. I know they ruled out handcuffs, but why don't you think he was, you know, perp? Why do you think there was no perp walk?
I actually posted on social media this morning that if I were him, I would require it.
Yeah,
I would say I want a perp walk. I want to be handcuffed. I want to be fingerprinted. I want to be arrested. I want to hear my rights. I want to have the opportunity to film it all, because that would be the most amazing red meat campaign material for his 2024 presidential election run.
Absolutely.
And it probably didn't happen. I saw a news article just a few moments ago where it said that his one of his lawyers was against mugshots being released and things like that. I don't think that's the case. I think that's fake news.
He would have raised $20 million in 5 seconds on selling T-shirts with the mugshot on it.
Right.
Not to interrupt.
Correct. Correct. Yeah, correct. And I think that they now realize that this is they've overstepped and they've crossed the line. They've crossed the Rubicon, and we're in territory now. They're in territory now. They're going to get exactly what they're asking for, but not what they wanted. And I also think Alvin Bragg went forward with this because he's one of those evil people that has nothing but an ego. He is an empty suit. He's not a good human being. He's not a good person. He's a loser. And he's fighting other losers, like the prosecutors in Georgia. What's his name? What is it? Smith, Jack Smith, the guy who's doing the prosecution of these referrals from the J6 committee, which is all, you know, nonsense. And then the classified documents thing. So these people are all fighting. They all want to be the ones who put their name on taking Trump down.
Well, Alvin Bragg campaigned on that. That was his whole campaign. They spent $1 million. George Soros did, getting him elected so he could take down Trump. It's the only reason he's in that position that he's in now is to take down Donald Trump.
Right.
And sorry to interrupt.
If he were to say, if the folks in Georgia were to say, listen, we've got a better prosecution here, he's not going to say, okay, you go ahead and do it. And that's what viewers need to understand. I mean, this is all about name recognition, FaceTime, people knowing his name, him being, in the front of social media and TV and websites and all the rest. That's what this is about. This isn't about justice. This isn't about fairness. This isn't about, rule of law. This is a game they're playing. And it's a very, very a dangerous game, but they're playing it nonetheless. These are not people that are like you or I, and American voters need to understand that.
You think this is kind of one of the deep state's last stand because of how rough these waters are that they're getting into, Mark? I mean, this is like you said, it's a very serious and very nasty game they're playing, and it's a very risky game. Do you think this is kind of one of their last gigs at taking down Trump before 2024?
No,
they're
just going to keep at it. I mean, we've seen that already. They will never give up. That's why these people need to be eradicated. They need to be removed. We've got to get them out of office. As I've said for a long time, if President Trump or another, when President Trump gets reelected, let's just put it that way, the first day he comes in, he just needs to start firing people. And I'm talking about hundreds, if not thousands a day. There are like 2 million workers in the federal government. That's not counting. It's actually, the number is actually 10 million. When you look at the military and you look at contractors and you look at grant workers and people like that, it's actually 10 million people have jobs in the United States that are funded by taxpayers. And so it is just this massive, just fetid swamp, right? We hear about the swamp, but most Americans don't understand that the number's 10 million, and they don't understand what these people do and how they do it. And they will just keep on, Sam, I believe. They're like cockroaches, and the only way that we're going to get the change that we need is to exterminate them. And by doing that, I'm not talking about death. I'm talking about getting them out of the system and never allowing them back in. Because, someone's seeing this from the other side and say, oh, he's just talking about, violence and all the rest. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. I know you can't tell into the future, but when do you think we're going to be on offense? I mean, Trump's obviously got to get that reelection to happen. And do you think we can be on offense right away, or
that's a great question.
It's going to be years and years to come.
That's a great question. I think, and I did something on this in today's episode that was released to the United American show, but I would say that 80-90% of the people that are elected, especially in DC, are members of the Uniparty. They're not, it doesn't matter whether they're Republican or Democrat. They're insiders. We're fighting insiders. It's not Democrats versus Republicans. That's what they want you to think. It's not liberals versus conservatives. It's insiders versus outsiders. And our insiders are part of the Uniparty. The right part of the Uniparty is just as bad as the left part of the Uniparty. So we don't get we get a lot of talk and theatrics, but we don't get a lot of action out of them. And then when we do, members of the Uniparty who are Republicans want to crap all over them, like Marjorie Taylor Greene, like Matt Gaetz, people like that. So I think it's going to take a while, unless in 2024 and in 2026, we the people rise up, get to the polls, and vote for people who will go there and kick ass and take names. That's the bottom line.
It absolutely is.
We definitely need some ass kickers. right now.
So what do you think? What do you guys think will happen with this prosecution? There are people saying that it will be slow walked. That what they really wanted was this spectacle that they can then talk about, but they really don't want. They want this to continue to last until the election. There are others that are saying, you know, well, Trump should probably move this thing along. What do you guys think about that?
If you'd like
Well, I
to go
really don't
first,
think I'm
Josh, go
gonna
ahead.
I'm gonna hop in really quick. I really don't think they would have brought up 34 charges if they wanted it to be serious. The whole accusation is that he paid a porn star. You're not gonna have 34 charges, felony charges, for one payment off in the first place. Second, the statute of limitations is out. Third, this is a misdemeanor at worst. Fourth, the FEC didn't even pick it up. Any
Right.
judge that in the right mind that would pick this up, unless they're judge shopping like they have in Ohio for abortion rights, they go judge shopping for Donald Trump. That might be the only real outcome of this. But I don't think it's gonna do anything big. I don't think it's gonna go anywhere. I think it's not intended to go anywhere because they want him to run and get beat again so he can claim fraud. There'll be another insurrection 2.0, and then well, look right there. Oh, he's disqualified from any office again.
To follow that, kind of what I think maybe is going to happen here, and you know, thinking about 2016. I mean, these people are smart, right? I mean, you know, when you talk about the Uniparty, right? They're not totally dumb. I mean, yeah, some of them are, but I mean, they obviously know what they're doing. And in 2016, I think the mistake that they made was to have Trump's name in the media too much. Well, here, you know, I'm kind of thinking, well, you know, obviously, if they do extend this out, if they do drag this on, guess whose name's going to be in the media until election day? Donald John Trump. I think that they would learn from that mistake, right? So I don't think that they'd want this to drag on. I think that they'd actually want to get charges pressed on this, or you know, filed on this guy, and try to put him behind cells or try to get him to not be able to run for office. I mean, I think that's the clear objective, but I just think there's no standing. They just don't have what they thought they had. And what Mark said, they're going to get exactly what they're asking for, not what they want, kind of.
They're asking for Republicans to take back every office in this country. And people are going to stand up, and there's people on talk radio that call in. They say, I was liking DeSantis, I was leaning towards DeSantis, or maybe Vivek Ramaswamy. Now I'm 100% on the Trump train, right? There's no one that's out there serious in the conservative movement, especially the populist side of it, that said, you know, I thought about liking Trump, but now that he's been arrested, I don't want him in there anymore, right? It is a full prosecution, and I talked about it on my program the other day. The reason they're persecuting Trump is because they think he'll be taken less serious at that point. They think he'll be discredited. What's really going to happen is people judge people by their enemies. I don't judge people by who they're allied with in the most point. But Trump's opponents are like, what's his name? Karl Rove on Fox News, the Bushes, Liz Cheney, McCain, and now the DA of Manhattan and George Soros, okay? These people aren't attacking Ron DeSantis. They aren't attacking Vivek Ramaswamy. They aren't attacking Nikki Haley. They're attacking Donald Trump because Donald Trump is the only one that can actually win in 2024 and get the MAGA movement across the finish line and do what he said he would do the first time and the second time, when he won both times, and now the third time he's going to win again.
Mark, quick question. Did you think that obviously the Uniparty thought that the independent voter would have a different opinion on this outcome? And obviously you can see that the independent voter obviously must be gravitating towards Trump because of all this, right? I mean, wouldn't you agree?
Well, it depends on what polls you look at. I saw something in Politico. Now, I go to Politico to find out the plans of the left. So, you know, you can take Politico for what it's worth, and that's not much. And many people don't know that Politico is owned by a German company. So Politico is German owned, right? One of the places that our left goes for their news, their political news, is owned by the Germans. But that poll said that the majority of Americans are okay with this prosecution, that they kind of support it. I don't know if that's true or not. Like, we really don't know what the numbers are because of the way poll questions can be manipulated and polls can be manipulated. But I've got to believe, as this plays out and we hear more and more, I believe that. So, for example, people like Bill Maher, I haven't seen what he has said about this, But if people like Bill Maher and Joe Rogan, and some of the folks that are like, have been liberal, but are moving to, that have been neoliberals and that are moving back to being more classic liberals, if they start to say, this is a bunch of hogwash, this is shameful, this is un-American, we could see a landslide like Ronald Reagan had in 24. We could literally see, Donald Trump win every state except, maybe New York and California.
Mm-hmm.
And wouldn't that be spectacular?
Oh, it'd be wonderful.
Yeah. And that's when we've got to get on the stick and we've got to replace everybody with MAGA kind of candidates. I mean, Evan made a comment in the comments section about state legislatures. I got a beef with the Ohio legislature.
Oh, 100%.
Right?
I think both of them.
Yeah, we've got a bigger supermajority in Ohio than Ron DeSantis has in Florida. And our so-called Republican governor and our so-called Republican supermajority gets absolutely nothing done.
Zero.
So they all need to be replaced. And the way we need to do it is we need to find people to primary these people.
Absolutely. GFI.
Yeah. And
wonderful grassroots organization.
Yeah. And here's one of the things, okay? If you want to primary someone who's in the House, you do not have to live in their district to give them a primary fight. So we need some patriots to stand up and primary guys like Dave Joyce up in northeastern Ohio. Dave Joyce is an absolute rhino. He's an awful person. I've met him a few times. He's just a jerk. So someone needs to primary him. Even if they lose, they've got to be thinking about this as a service they do to expose frauds like Dave Joyce.
I gotta try to get a hold of that younger gentleman, Patrick
Outtree.
Yeah, I wonder if he's interested in giving it another shot. That was a wonderful candidate, I thought.
Yeah,
very good.
We need to have people, especially younger conservatives, work and primary these people, and we got to get behind them. What they lack in money, we've got to give them with volunteer support, door knocking, texting, emailing, phone calling. That's what we need to do.
Yeah. And one thing about the organization that you're helping get started and run, since you guys have a wonderful email list, you know what I mean? Like you have the data, right?
Yep.
So we have to put that to good use, because if we're just going to sit on that, oh my gosh, what are we doing? When was that truth posted? 57 minutes ago? Is that real?
Yeah, that was on his way to the courthouse. I'm going to kind of break in here with a little bit of news. Here's the Newsmax stream putting that up now. They're still just waiting. It was supposed to be 2:15 for the supposed perp walk, and it is now 2:19 on the East Coast. Nothing yet. Trump is now sending out fundraising emails selling this T-shirt.
I saw you pulled that up. That's actually recent.
Yes, that was today on the official website. The not guilty with that picture. We know that's a photoshopped image, of course. $36 on the Trump store. Donation goes to the campaign, of course. We saw a big fundraising. This is kind of a question for both of you. We saw a fundraising push for Trump after he was indicted, so to speak, and after he was thrown in whatever sort of kangaroo court he was thrown in. He raised, I think it was $7 million last quarter. $5 million of that was 24 hours after the indictment. I don't think they realize how powerful this is for the MAGA movement, really.
Go ahead, Mark, if you don't mind.
He's the master at this. There is nobody better.
Exactly.
And so I expect him to, I want to see a whole line of products from baby soothers to T-shirts to coffee mugs to golf balls, you name it.
I'd wear this on a hat.
On everything. Yeah.
With the date.
Yeah, what do they call him? The staple genius?
Yeah. That was, they were trying, he called himself that, and they were.
Actually, that's one of those things that Trump, man, he comes up for some wonderful nicknames for other people, but man, he comes up with some nicknames for himself. And that's one thing too, you're that type of guy that you come up with your own nicknames. Like
you remember what the J stands for in Donald J. Trump, right? Remember that it was like what they said in like 2017. He said the J stands for genius.
Oh, I didn't hear that. I missed that one, but that's brilliant.
I can't remember if that was fake or if it was real. I can't not remember.
I would have to say fake only because, if he's a genius, I'd hope he'd know how to spell.
I'm gonna have to find that now. I'm gonna spend time over here trying to find it.
Yeah, but the fundraising, I know Evan mentioned this again. The fundraising deal is pretty impressive. I mean, you're talking about fundraising for a presidential campaign and in a crappy economy. I mean, everybody is almost broke. It seems like nowadays. I mean, you definitely just don't have the money like you had in 2020, or
yeah, and that's
later
another
on.
Thing. That's another thing. I feel like we're truly living the movie Idiocracy, because you're not seeing the kind of outrage you saw during the recession in 2008 or prior recessions. It's like people are anesthetized. They're walking around in a daze, and I can only contribute it to what happened during COVID. I feel like COVID was one of those things that, unless you were really kind of a firebrand and a savage for individual freedoms, you kind of went along to get along and have been somewhat neutered. It feels like we have a country that's very much a herd of eunuchs. They've just been castrated.
Absolutely.
And we need to, as a country, we need to get our mojo back. It's just, I'm watching the Final Four, and I'm like, it's okay, but it's not the same. Everything changed with COVID, and everything changed with the tribalism that COVID brought. And we've got to get back to being Americans and kicking ass and taking names and not caring what the rest of the world thinks about us because they so want to be us.
Absolutely. And one thing, I don't know if you pay attention to the Milk Boys or whatnot, but they had Tucker Carlson on their podcast the other day, Mark. And, Tucker said over and over again that America is not the strongest country anymore, too. Now, I don't know if you agree with that or not, but, that also is stuff to think about, too, and scary things to think about. I mean, since 1918, right, we've been the strongest country ever. And, from what I can tell and from what Tucker says, it doesn't seem like we are anymore. And, is that because of, policies, politicians, and just, our society being so like we're definitely not masculine like we should be. And I obviously I know we have women in the country too, but when it comes to like patriot and America first, and doing whatever you can for your country, not what your government or your country can do for you, you know what I mean? Like, we need to bring that back. And yeah, COVID definitely robbed that from us totally.
Yeah, we you look at China, you look at their military, you look at their buildup of their navy, you look at the South China Sea islands that they're building up and building bases on. You look at their incursions into Taiwanese airspace, and you look at the spy balloons, and you look at TikTok, and you just go down the list. They are poking us and prodding us and the rest of the world from every angle. And, we've got nuclear weapons, right? Without those right now, I think we'd be in big trouble. And if you've listened to Dan Bongino, he's done some great work on talking about what a World War III, not a Ukrainian Russian fake war, World War III, but if China were to decide to start to attack us, it won't be traditional warfare. It'll be germ warfare. It'll be EMP warfare.
EMPs are big. If you
Right?
don't mind, Mark, can you explain for the listeners what an EMP is? Some might not know. And I think it's crazy.
Yeah. So it's an electromagnetic pulse, right? And those electromagnetic pulse. So think of it as a really, really strong, let's say, radio wave or a microwave, like in your microwave. And rather than cooking you necessarily, it cooks electronics. It disables electronics. And the way that this would be done would be to detonate a small nuclear device up in the atmosphere to send out this wave. And it doesn't have to be big. One of those spy balloons could probably do it, or several of those spy balloons. So you set this nuclear charge off up in the atmosphere, and it sends this wave down. And virtually all electronics and the electric grid would be disabled. And much of it damaged that it would have to be repaired or replaced. So think about that.
Completely.
Right. We're talking about, so look at a vehicle these days, right?
They got them chips.
Yeah. Like I think my vehicle has 124 microprocessors in it. I think that's what they told me. Right?
I mean, wonder why we couldn't get cars during 2020. They were just backed up waiting for 124 individual microchips for each car. I mean, that's just very smart business there by the car companies.
Yeah. And so we're talking the electric grid and all the rest. So think about what that would mean, right?
Boris Epstein is now leaving the courthouse, not to interrupt, but he just walked out. Close confidant to the president. Not to interrupt, I just wanted to get that there.
That's good. And we gotta pay a little attention to this because it looks like things are starting to
speed up here.
Maybe move now. Anyway, this EMP, they could literally take over the country without having to lift much of a finger.
There he is. There's the president.
Oh, here he is.
Interrupt here. There he's walking out. I'm gonna get audio in here as well.
Being fingerprinted and arraigned, and we assume making a plea in that case. The president walking by, Jason Miller following. A number of
Jason
people,
Miller was there too.
Close to the president, traveling with him. And this, of course, Tom, historic day. Mark Brnovich, we may have to interrupt you any second now, but wanted to get your thoughts as far as this case is concerned against the former president of the United States.
Thanks for having me on. And obviously, just even the scene
now they're just going to commentary.
Right now,
I'm going to mute it for the stream, but I'll keep it in my ear in case something big happens.
Wonderful.
Good.
Yep. So the EMP. I know that you mentioned the spy balloons, Mark. Do you think that's something that China was just seeing how close, we got a awful, commander-in-chief that has no idea what's going on. Let's see how close we can get one of these EMPs into American soil. You know what I mean? You think that's something, what those spy balloons were all about?
Yeah, I don't think there's any question about that.
Yeah.
And
that's scary. That's scary stuff too. You know what I mean? Like we have all this stuff going on in our country, and it seems like Americans are just so lackadaisical to not care. Right.
Well, they're going to believe what the mainstream media tells them. I mean, the mainstream media is essentially the PR arm of the progressives, the deep state, Democrat politicians, Republican rhinos, the uniparty. And this is all theatrics. It's all a game. It's all fiction. It's all lies. It's all dishonesty.
Mm-hmm.
And so the Chinese, I think, are probing just how much. I am certain that they've got compromising information on a great deal of people in Washington. And that's why you see some of this behavior, because there's no other way to explain it. We know, if you look at Peter Schweitzer's book, Profiles in Corruption, and you look at the Biden chapter and you see and I did something on my show today. I started through that book talking about the corruption that the Biden crime family has been doing for decades. This is all publicly available information. If someone went and did an internet search, they could find validation of all these claims in Schweitzer's book. I did it. Yet no one talks about it. His book was out almost a year before the general election in 2020. And few outlets talked about it. Fox News talked about it. You know, some of the, let's call them alt news sites. But this is a criminal enterprise. They have built a business around Joe Biden being in elected office.
Yeah. I mean, it almost makes you wonder, you know, past presidents, obviously, have they been doing the same thing? And are they just are they just a lot better at hiding and not getting caught rather than Joe Biden? I mean, because, I mean, you go all the way back into the 70s, right? Like when he was like one of the youngest senators in the Senate. 72, right.
He started there when I was in 8th grade, and I'm going to be 65 in November. Think about that.
Isn't that wild, though? Not trying to call you old, but 8th grade, right? And then you're in the 8th grade, right? And then, you know, our president, commander-in-chief.
I'm a grandfather 4 times over.
Yeah, right? Congratulations about that, by the way. That's wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah, beautiful baby.
But you think about this. I mean, it's just ridiculous. And his sister is his campaign manager, right? In one campaign, they gave another firm that she's his campaign manager, but she also owns this political messaging firm, and they paid her $2.5 million back in, I forget, 1998 or something like that, and she's been doing this for like 18 or 20 years.
Yeah.
And so it's all about what Schweitzer calls corruption by proxy, right?
Yes.
And we saw that with the 10% for the big guy.
Yep.
Hunter goes and does deals in China, gets paid billions of dollars, and Joe gets 10% of it. Right?
Yeah, you got to save 10% for the big guy. Remember, I mean, how did we ever forget? I mean, sadly, I kind of forgot about that, but isn't it crazy how we have so much news and so much news gets pushed in our face, and something happens then that kind of just gets shoved down the line. And it almost seems like if you look at obviously the Biden scandals, there's just so much scandal with that. You just kind of forget about other stuff they've been involved in.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And one thing I can tell you about the Biden crime family is back in 1972. I think pretty sure when he was having an interview, they're asking him how do we know that you're not going to get compromised, you're not going to get corrupted once you go to Washington and whatnot, and blah blah blah. And he's like, well, I wouldn't speculate that I'm not corrupt, but and making a joke, you know what I mean? But obviously now that video aged very, very well, because we know that he probably will go down as the most corrupt president in United States history. Illegitimate president, by the way, because obviously he didn't win 2020.
I don't want to interrupt here, but I just look how angry Donald Trump looks in this clip. Just walking
he does not
out of
look
the
happy.
courthouse. He's been slandered and destroyed, and I don't know where he went after this. The video ended right here. I think that's actually a hallway between one room to another that he's going into the courthouse now, if I understand. That's what's going on. We can see outside on this tab of the line. I guess they're waiting for him to leave this building here, where he's inside, I guess.
So he is going to be able to go back to Mar-a-Lago tonight, correct?
Yes, he'll go.
He's got an 8:15, I believe, 8:15 press conference.
Yeah, he's having a press conference there. Unless they gag order him, they could gag order him while he's in the courthouse now, and not be able to do anything. Right? He wouldn't be able to say what he wants to say or anything like that if he's gag ordered, of course. Which would be stupid if they did. I mean, if you don't want to hear the defendant of a trial, don't make it a public trial. Don't allow Alvin Bragg to go out there and say what he wants to say. He talked earlier about how Congress can't intervene in this trial because it's a state trial, but they're federal charges, right? I think Kathy Hochul should pardon Donald Trump.
They're federal charges? Are you sure?
They're state charges. They're federal crimes. There's not a statute in New York that says you can't use federal campaign funds to pay off people, or whatever the proper term is. They're state charges, but it's the actual crime is a federal crime. It's a federal. Now, if he was running for governor of New York with state money, I think that'd be different there. But they're like a
well. So that's one
separation.
of the questions I have, because it's like a federal election commission kind of crime, an administrative court kind of crime thing. But they're saying that it's because of this business records misdemeanor thing, but it can be bumped up to a felony if you anticipated doing that business records fraud to commit a second crime, which would be the election crime. But the election crime is a federal crime, and I don't understand where New York has any jurisdiction over federal campaign finance law.
I don't think,
because I ran for a federal office, and Ohio had absolutely nothing to do with my finances. It's all FEC. It's all reporting to them. There's no reporting done to the state of Ohio. And the only thing I had to do in Ohio was get ballot access by getting signatures. So I'm not a lawyer, but those are some of the questions that I think we're going to see start to be asked by the press and have to be answered, because it seems to me that there was so much contortion that had to be done to get these charges, to get this indictment, that the probability of this going to trial, to me, seems to be almost zero, if not zero.
And I don't think they want it to go to trial. I think they want it to be a political talking point that Trump was indicted, the first president or former president to be indicted.
2 impeachments and an indictment. Big deal. Neither of them mean anything.
Exactly. Not a lick. No. I mean, it means nothing, as you're right. I mean, the impeachment didn't go anywhere. Impeachment number 2 went. I think it had 3 Republican votes, including Rob Portman, right? Or did he vote for the impeachment? I can't remember at this point.
I never.
Anyways.
Anyway, back to the impeachment on the second one. It was a perfectly good phone call too. You know what I mean? Like, that's what they were literally trying to impeach him on. It's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, and now he has a talking point. He's been impeached twice, the most impeached president, the most prosecuted president. If the Uniparty is prosecuting my president, I support him even more.
Right.
It's not like it's bad people, or good people doing this. I don't think I'd support him less if Dave Yost was the one prosecuting him somehow. I don't really care for Dave Yost either, but it's
David Empty Suit Yost a cappella every time he speaks. It's just it's cringeworthy. Sorry he's good. I'm not gonna say he's not good, but it's like, come on, dude. Like, come on.
Yeah, we're replaying the moment now where he walked into the courtroom.
He's serious.
Oh man, he looks
he's
like
angry.
He looks like he is just gonna run down somebody. I mean, it's game on, right? It's Game of Thrones time.
And there he is.
You have poked the bear. Look at him.
Poked the wrong bear. I can feel
just look
that
into his
stare.
eyes.
I can feel that.
He's looking straight into the cameraman's eyes.
Yeah.
He was staring him down hard. That was wonderful.
Kind of a scary shot right there, to be honest. He is just.
That's our president.
Secret Service behind him there, probably.
Yeah, Secret Service behind him, and then there's Jason Miller that kind of goes in at the end of the shot.
Now, I don't know if Mark knows more about this or Josh, but when did their relationship become so close?
Whose?
Jason Miller and Donald Trump.
Have been close forever.
Like long time? Like even before he was getting into Getter and stuff like that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
He was a campaign advisor in transition for 2016, senior advisor to the re-election campaign. So
that's wonderful. Okay.
He brought him back in February of this year. He stepped down as CEO of Getter to join the Trump campaign again. Getter is a bad platform anyway. It's not my favorite.
Yeah, I don't know what's they got going on over there. I tried.
That,
I mean,
is that photo? I'm gonna kind of interrupt here. I don't have the audio. Is this photo of right now.
Far left is Todd Blanche, who is the newest member of his legal team, who was announced yesterday. He gave up his job at a very prestigious Manhattan law firm in order to take on the defense of the former president. He described it as, quote, an opportunity I should not pass up. He said, obviously doing this as a partner at Cadwalader, which is his law firm, was not
this
an
is an image of him inside the courtroom.
So I had to make the difficult choice to leave the firm. So Todd Blanche there on the left, who also defended Paul Manafort, has made a big decision, big career decision, to leave his very prestigious law firm,
at least
temporarily,
right?
to defend the former president. Susan Nichelis is there beside him, in between him and the former president, and then Joe Tacopina on the right-hand side. So there is our one and only photograph from the courtroom. And Brett, let's go to you. What kind of impact?
So that's the photo. Usually there's no cameras inside New York courtrooms. They are allowing 5 journalists, including 5 cameras, in the courtroom at this point. First photo released. I don't think it's the only one released. That photo is going to be in the history books.
Are they still cameras or are there video?
They're still cameras. There's no video. It's
no video. That's too
photo
bad.
Only. Yeah, they RSBN was talking earlier about how they wanted to do a live stream. They just couldn't get inside with a camera. No one has with a video camera. I don't know why. And
I think
I don't know why you can't have video of the most important probably trial in American history. I mean, they're treating it like OJ on steroids. I've never seen
except we got to watch OJ.
Yeah, true. Right.
Every single just kind of how they're panning and watching the car and just trying to zoom in on the windows as he's driving by. That's not normal. I mean, it's not. Any other trial wouldn't go like this, but it's not a fair trial either.
I would really very curious to see what he has to say in that courtroom, if he is even talking or if just the legal team is talking to the judge.
They'll probably just say not guilty and walk out. It's usually, from what my experience, how these things go. I'm not exactly sure. Mike Crispy, I don't know if you all know him. He ran for Congress. He's a show host. He's in New York, I believe.
Yeah, he's Live from America channel now, right? Correct?
Yeah.
Jeremy Harold's.
He said on Twitter, "The American experiment has ended today. I hope you realize the magnitude of this moment." I don't think I can describe it any better than what he said.
I agree.
Really?
Can we really?
So that now here I get the chills again, Mark. Can we really say that the American experiment is done? Wow.
It's, how do I say this? And someone else can speak up if they like. We are at the point in our country where we are turning on our own. We are persecuting those because we don't agree with them politically. Imagine if this was the AG of Mississippi or of San Diego, California. I think it's a Republican town. I don't know California demographics. Where they're taking Gavin Newsom and charging him with the crimes of killing people in nursing homes during COVID in this Republican town. That wouldn't fly. They wouldn't have massive media coverage. The media would bury it. So why are we different for Donald Trump? And why is Donald Trump always the exception of everything? Because he's actually fighting against the deep state. He's fighting against the uniparty. And I really think when we have this mass amount of media coverage, a mass amount of this fake trial coverage that we're seeing now in New York City, I think it's safe to say the American experiment, as we know it at least, is over. And it's going to take a new form, probably a more authoritarian form moving forward.
Or we go the other direction where people start to take justice into their own hands and politicians realize that if they get out of line, it could be dangerous for them.
Yeah.
Because at some point in time, the line gets crossed where people say we've had enough.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're getting really close to it. This might actually be that line. I don't know. But it sure seems like there's a two-tiered justice system, and it's for the insiders, like Hillary Clinton and others, and it's against the outsiders, like Donald Trump and others who aren't part of the uniparty party machine and approved by them, not part of big tech, not part of this whole ecosystem they have of codependent corruption. It's a very interesting time to be alive. I'll just say that.
It's a scary time to be alive. That we are taking and weaponizing something that we have 2 tiers of justice system. Obviously, I take it further and say there's not 2 tiers. There's 2 justice systems, right? We don't have a justice system that is equal between me and a liberal colleague somewhere. Let's just say that, to be frank. We have in every level of government, between local government, city government, I consider business like the way businesses is structured. So in some ways, a government, when you really think about it, with DEI and things like that, where if you're a conservative person, you're being taught in there that you are the most racist person in American history. You cannot continue on with what you're doing. If you're white, you are an oppressor. And I think that's 2-tiered in some regards as well. I mean, it's not being the same thing told to Black Americans or Asian Americans. And now we have it here where it's political opponents directly. I mean, it's directly Donald Trump and Roger Stone, people of that regard, that they don't agree with everything, every issue. And so they are the worst person in American history. They are terrible and the like.
I just got a text from the Trump campaign.
Asking for money this time? Is it a donation? I'm not on those texts
Yeah.
anymore.
Let me if I can share my screen, let me
You should be able to, sir. One more thing right now. Breaking. Trump pleads not guilty to 34 felony accounts of falsifying business records according to the hearing. So he has pled not guilty to 34 felonies of falsifying business records. Should
if you two
share your screen and I can put it on, Mark.
Yeah, let me find it first here.
If you guys don't care, I'm going to use the restroom real quick. I will be right back.
You're all right, sir. I'll take you off. That way we're not just seeing an empty chair there. It's quite the day. While you get that in, I'm going to kind of put this in a law professors on Fox, and I think it's kind of interesting to put in.
Represented Donald Trump. And that itself really slaps at the underlying principles of our legal system. You know, he should not have to resign from a firm to represent a former president of the United States. But that's the age of rage that we live in. So the president has now pleaded not guilty, and the court is going to have to decide if this case should go forward at all. That will be the first threshold legal question. The second question will be, where should the case go forward if the first motion is denied? Now, as Andy said, I expect that motion for a venue change will be denied. I think this is a stronger case than most. Even though you end up with just the same judge and prosecutor potentially, you do end up with a different jury pool. And for me, the problem here is not just the prosecutor running on bagging Donald Trump, it's the fact that he was elected by voters in this district in part for that reason. And that creates this very troubling appearance for many people in the country. So the question is, does the judge want to try to make some type of gesture that this is not a canned hunt, that, you know, we're not just allowing a prosecutor to bring in someone that he promised that he would charge for.
So that's the
get the graphics off so we can see it here.
Yeah, that's the fundraising text that I just got. You watch.
We are living through the darkest chapter in American history. The radical left, the enemy of the hard-working men and women of this country, have indicted me in a disgusting witch hunt. Alvin Bragg, the Soros-funded district attorney behind the indictment, relied on the testimony of a convicted felon and a disbarred lawyer. Never before in our nation's history has this been done. The Democrats have cheated countless times over the decades, but weaponizing our justice system to punish a political opponent who just so happens to be a president of the United States, and that's where it cuts off there. But it is an unbelievable moment in time today that this is happening in America. This is the United States of America. This isn't communist China. This isn't a banana republic. This isn't a third world Venezuelan country. This is America. It's disgusting. Let's get the audio back on here, if we can, while Sam's in the wherever he might be working here. Can audio.
Grand jury indicated that he was pursuing felony charges. I presume he could have filed a criminal information without the grand jury. Bragg could have by himself, had there not been felony charges. Difficult to make a judgment without having read it, but I would just say if it's based on what we already knew, I think, Trey Gowdy talked before about count stacking, which is the kind of thing the Justice Department actually has guidance telling federal prosecutors not to take a case where you have thin evidence and try to camouflage with quantity of charges what you lack in quality of evidence. And what I fear here is that they've taken what's essentially one transaction and figured out ways to compartmentalize pieces of it. So, for example, if you have one payment to Michael Cohen where he put in an invoice, they gave him a check, and then they made a business record entry, you could turn that into 3 counts, even though it's one transaction. And the whole thing is only one transaction because it's repayment for...
I got to put this tweet on the screen from Elon Musk. If the Dem Party had a time machine, and it's a picture of Trump from the 80s, why do time travelers keep trying to kill me? I'm just a realtor. I can't believe that
now,
Elon Musk is...
I will tell you that the majority of Americans won't get the humor in that.
I mean, there's another one. Leaders who have their political opponents arrested. That's just a sad kind of image, kind of describing what's going on in this country at this point.
I agree.
It's an accurate representation, really. These are all AI images. Bad idea scrolling through Twitter replies with your screen share on, because you never know what people are going to reply on there.
Right. You take that risk.
Yeah. I'm kind of watching the Trump store now to see if they put anything else on there, and watching my email. I don't get any text messages, but I get all of the emails for every single thing Trump ever sends out ever. So I'm just trying to watch that and make sure there's nothing happening there. No new shirts. I'm watching Truth Social. Also might have someone hopping on here in just a minute, trying to get him on at least, who's at the protest in Palm Beach, Florida. So that'd be kind of cool.
If you need me to go, you need to give up my spot.
You can stay on as long as you need. We have like 10 spots, so you can stay on as long as you like. Let's see here.
Made in 2016, then we will know those are related to Daniels and McDougal. If that's the case, then this would be a terrible moment for the rule of law. This would mean that all Bragg did was replicate the same flawed theory 34 times. And that doesn't improve upon repetition, if that is his theory. The reason is that the Department of Justice never brought the charge of an election violation. Many of us don't believe this is an election violation, that you could count this as a political contribution. Even people at the FEC rejected that argument. But also the Department of Justice went down this road before. It tried the Democratic presidential candidate, John Edwards, on what I thought was a stronger case that also involved hush money going to a woman. In that case, they had a child. The jury rejected those claims. And so there's a good reason why the Department of Justice may not have proceeded. But still, if the second crime here, the thing that makes it a felony in the first degree, is a federal election charge, we have a very significant threshold question that will face the court. That has never been done, to our knowledge, in any case in history. It not only speaks to selective prosecution, it suggests exclusive prosecution to just Donald Trump. And so the court will have a very significant issue.
I'm sorry to interrupt. We're coming up against the end of the hour. I want to make sure I get some clarity from you on this. When you talk about this has never happened in history, we know that former political candidates, presidential candidates, including Hillary Clinton, have paid financial penalties for campaign finance violations. Is embedded within these charges, again, we have not seen them yet, but we are getting early reports about them. Can we now assume safely that Bragg is making, and the grand jury is making the case in these charges, that Trump did have the intent to defraud American voters? That is definitively what they are charging him with here? Is that what differentiates this?
Yeah. I don't think we can make that assumption until we read the indictment and see what it was that he was allegedly trying to conceal. What was that other crime? We've only heard of one in all of these leaks and discussions, and that's the federal election violation. That would be really problematic.
But can we assume that that is the case that Bragg and the grand jurors are trying to make? We know that now, right?
Well, all we know is that the initial description of the indictment would fit that profile, but we don't have confirmation of what that second crime is. The concern about the grand jury, by the way, is that they only hear from the prosecution. It's not clear that they really were given all of these.
Kind of unrelated to the whole case in the first place is that CNN actually applies an orange filter to pictures of Donald Trump. There's the original photo versus what's captured on CNN. Like 3 different shades of color going on there. It's just
they're actually doing everything they can, huh?
I don't care how orange he is. I'm going to vote for him anyway. And I actually can say I'm going to vote now. I'll be an eligible voter in the primary. So, yeah, that's what they decided to do. That is the worst prosecution of a political opponent in American history. And let's apply an orange filter to his photos, because that's going to take away legitimacy completely. It's just a shame in what they're doing to this man. That's put his life on the line, put his career on hold. The life he built himself around this real estate venture is just kind of gone because of and the real estate tycoon he had is gone because he decided to work for the American people and put things in place and policies in place to help benefit the lives of Americans over just the 1% and the top people that donate to Democrats and fund Democrats. And people don't like it. George Soros doesn't like it. The left wing doesn't like it, so they're going to send him and try to send him to prison. Remember, they want a full guilty sort of crime here on Donald Trump in New York with 34 felonies. That's what they're going for. It's a disgrace. It really is, to put it lightly.
And like Mike Christie said, the American experiment, may be over.
I'm going to see here.
Oh, man, that really...
Fox really quick. It says the indictment is unsealed.
Dougal and this federal election law. I think we're going to get all the details very shortly, but you see the former president there pleading not guilty, and he'll definitely have something to say shortly.
Yeah, there may also be some breaking news from the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals regarding an order for Stormy Daniels to repay attorney fees to the former president. So we'll see how that goes. All right. Well, thank you for being with us on this historic occasion. I'm John Roberts.
I'm Jillian Turner. The story with Martha McCallum begins right now.
All right. Thank you very much, John and Jillian. Continuing breaking coverage here this afternoon. I'm Martha McCallum. Good to have you with us on this day as we watch the former president, Donald Trump. This is a still image on the right-hand side of your screen, flanked by his attorneys inside the courtroom. He has pled not guilty to 34 felony counts of falsifying business records in the first degree. We are told that he would like to have a moment to speak to the media, and that could happen at any time after this arraignment wraps inside that Manhattan courtroom. And as I said, that image that you see on the right-hand side of your screen with Todd Blanche, Susan Nichelis, and Joe Tacopina on surrounding the president as he sits at the defendant's table in the courtroom just moments ago.
So I don't know if we're going to get a speech to the media, but this is kind of for you, Mark, because you ran for office. If he is running for office again, he's going out there speaking to the media after this arraignment, what do you think he should say?
If it were me, I would probably be downplaying. I would be trying to make it look like he's fighting for us. I'm fighting for you, right? I told you that they're coming for you, but I'm in the way, and they're proving it again. You know, that great meme that's out there saying they're coming. They're really coming for you. There we go. I'm just in the way. And I think he should just play up that I'm the firewall between you and tyranny. And I would basically say, I will leave it all on the field for you. You vote for me, I will leave it on the field for you. 100%. Because I think he's been that way. I don't think there's ever been a time when he's thought, or it's been apparent that he was thinking, I ought to just throw in the towel. He's not that guy. And he's right about the evil in D.C. and in state capitals and elsewhere. And I got to believe that fuels him. It's like he's got, dragon energy.
I completely agree. Not to
and the polls, the polls have to be giving him more energy.
And they are. They're great polls for him. NBC News reporting Trump indictment includes a conspiracy charge. So
it's always a conspiracy charge, right? There's always a conspiracy charge. They want to throw this net over all this. You throw in conspiracy when you're afraid the rest of this stuff you won't be able to prosecute the rest of it. Russian collusion.
Right. So do you think if he does speak to the media, if he does go out there and he talks to them and he has a press conference of some sort, it looks like people leaving the courtroom now, looks like security maybe moving in and out. Do you think he'll take questions from the media? Do you think he'll answer the questions the media has? And how do you think they're safe? I know you weren't on the stream when they covered it, but when we covered it, Marjorie Taylor Greene was mobbed going to the protest in Central Park.
Yeah,
how do you think they're going to pull the people back and avoid them from just mogging the president and absolutely just tearing him up?
Well, I've got to believe that they've got an entrance and an exit for him that is foolproof, or the Secret Service wouldn't allow him to be there.
Right.
I mean, they've had an advanced team there, I'm certain, since long before even the indictment came down. They were planning for this as a contingency. Right?
They knew it was going to happen. It's been the plan for the long run. The only thing they can try to get on him is an indictment. They're not going to beat him by winning an election. They can't win an election. They stole the last one. They're not going to steal this one. We're not going to let it happen. They can't win by protesting him or hurting him personally, because, I mean, he has a Secret Service. They can't actually physically hurt him. So they're going to try to do it with words and with the indictment over a federal charge, a federal crime, technically, in a state court that the FEC refused, the federal prosecutors refused. It is the lowest tier of possible crime. If we're going to prosecute Donald Trump and the left's going to prosecute Donald Trump, I want the state attorney general here in Ohio, Dave Yost, to try to look at the laptop. We're going out of our jurisdiction. Look at Hunter's laptop. Prosecute Trump for Hunter's laptop. It's the same thing. Worse crimes on the laptop than there is in Trump's case. So why can't we do the same thing? They play the game dirty. We need to learn how to ballot harvest, right? If we want to win an election, we have to learn how to ballot harvest. If we want to take down our opponents, we have to sue them and prosecute them and indict them, apparently.
I don't know if you want to go. I mean,
you live by change our. Yeah, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. And here's the problem, Sam, where I think you were going with that. Well, maybe we don't want to do that, but that's what we've been saying for decades, 50 years. We're not going to lower ourselves to the way they do their dirty work.
But yeah, I mean,
there are Jonathan Haidt wrote a good book. There are 6 pillars of moral psychology. Conservatives take all 6 of those pillars and look at them as about equal. They're concerned about the different aspects of moral psychology, morality, integrity, about equal. Progressives and liberals only think about 2. And that's where the big difference is in the way we look at things. They look at fairness and justice, but it's fairness and justice from their perspective. It's not like they're looking for fairness and justice on some kind of an objective scale. It's what they think is just and they think is fair, and they put all their eggs in that basket in terms of morality. And so for them, the means justifies the end. So the end is they want him out of office. They will do anything to get that. They will even break the law because they will feel like Bragg. I mean, there's talk that I've seen Alan Dershowitz and Jonathan Turley and others talk about how by doing this prosecution this way, if he knows that there really isn't a crime here and he's trying to, excuse the pun, trump it up, that he could be going to jail for that. That's criminal activity as a prosecutor. And we grassroots Americans of all ilks need to be pushing for that. That if you want to live by the sword, you're going to die by the sword. We've got to stop. You know, it's especially true in the Republican Party in Ohio for the insiders and the folks that have been around that think they're special. They are never Trumpers, right? Guys like Frank LaRose, Mike DeWine, the whole cadre of them, right? These are all never Trumpers. And it's like, their point would be it's beneath us to act that way. And because we don't act that way and we don't use the tactics of our opponents, we continue to get beat. We continue to slide to the left. And at what point do we say we've had enough of that and get rid of imposters like a Mike DeWine, like a Mitt Romney, like a Liz Cheney, like an Adam Kinzinger, like a Lindsey Graham? I mean, we could go down the list. Yeah, we just, they need to be gone.
100%. Yeah. And I guess when it comes to that stuff, you know, you don't want to have to stoop to that level, but obviously, you know, it is, you know, how else are we going to win, right? Very, very good points there.
The left will vote for anyone with a D next to their name. The left will donate to anyone with a D next to their name and put resources behind anyone with a D next to their name and knock doors for anyone with a D next to their name and riot for anyone with a D next to their name. Republicans are here debating whether or not they're going to vote for Trump if he's the nominee. And that's the pure basis thing you can do is vote for Trump, obviously. But the left they'll have a primary with Maureen Williamson and Bernie and Pete Buttigieg and come out of it with 99% of Democrats voting for their nominee.
But here's the difference. Yeah, here's the difference, though. All of those candidates that the Democrats put up there on that stage are far leftists. They're just a shade apart in terms of what they really want. In the Republican Party, we've had so many people shift to the center and to the left that there are huge gradations between a guy like Trump or a guy like Ron DeSantis or Thomas Massey, who's a staunch constitutionalist, and guys like Mitt Romney and Lindsey Graham and others who are in the middle. And what if we the way we could best battle them is if we just rejected anybody that wasn't super conservative. Then it would be us against them, right? Their ideas against our ideas. But it's not Democrats watering down their message, trying to convince themselves that they're going to bring us over. It's Republicans like the Romney, what I call the Romney wing of the party, the Rob Portman wing of the party, who are dragging us to become Democrats. It's like Dan Bongino's expression, and I love it. Most Republicans are really Democrats. No Democrats are really Republicans.
Yep,
that sums it up.
And this is something that I've had a problem with, is why does the left wing, they have their party, they have the Democratic Party, the Green Party, whatever else, and the little third parties they have. Why is the left wing and liberal people so insistent on taking over the Republican Party? Why isn't there a space for conservative people to put their ideas out and vote for people of right-wing ideas versus someone like Mitch McConnell, who's not really supporting Republican ideas when he votes for and gives money to Lisa Murkowski? Right? Why is there not a place where Republicans can go without liberal infiltration in the party? There's always going to be liberal groups trying to infiltrate the left wing or the right wing, in the Republican Party. There's no such thing on the left wing. There's not Democrats being infiltrated by Republicans or right wingers in the Democratic Party. Why is it always that it's always they're expanding out publicly? And I have a feeling a lot of the liberal Democrats that are taking over the Republican Party do not vote for Republicans on the ballot box when it comes to the ballot box. So why are they trying to take over our party? I don't know if that's a question you know the answer to. It's just something I'm always...
Yeah, I don't. But it's a great thought. It kind of gets back to the point. It kind of dovetails with the point I made about the Republican Party being broad in terms of what the definition of Republican is versus the definition of being a Democrat, right? And, the Democrats have us all painted into the white supremacist militia group kind of alt-right kind of they've got us painted with that brush, but in reality it seems like we can't say we don't have a Republican Party that says that's not us, this is who we are. We have too much of the party that says, yeah, we need to get rid of those people. They don't even exist, right? I mean, the liberals, the liberal leftist progressive think tanks and all the rest have looked at this. There are probably somewhere between 5 and 30,000 quote unquote white supremacists in the United States. Their numbers, not our numbers, not my numbers, their numbers. That's like, what is that? 600 per state. They're all kooks, right? Yep. They're nutbags.
And probably bald heads and tattoos on their
We've
head.
allowed them to put us into that box and shut the door on that box. And we go along with it, right?
Absolutely. And I think you want to see this comment in the chat. I'm not sure if you have the chat open or not. I'm just going to leave it for you to read.
Mark is that stable genius.
He is the stable genius mentioned.
That's funny. Excuse me.
Never go wrong with a compliment here and there.
Yeah, thank you, but I'm no genius.
DA Alvin Bragg's news conference will be soon here, from what I can see.
All right, we'll cover that as well. Trump was just warned by the judge against the use of language, according to the NBC News, the DNC News. Let's be real. But yeah, that's. I'll put this on screen here.
But it wasn't a gag order.
No, that's just in the courtroom. He's using. I guess he's using foul language. I would guess by the implications of this.
Yeah, that's kind of what I got.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I guess it is a thing. I don't know. I'm sure Mark knows this, Josh. I don't know if you've heard this before, but it is a thing. You cannot swear in a courtroom.
No.
For
that I understand, and I can't believe he would do that. I was wondering. I'm wondering if that is the judges telling him not to use inflammatory language when talking about this case, or I'll put a gag order on you.
That could be. I didn't think about it that way. That's very possible as well. I'm scrolling through the TV listings here. I know you can't see it. Trying to see if there's anything else going on with coverage. This live now from Fox seems like they're going to have the press briefing.
So it starts with.
It's soon there.
There's the worst. Well, she'll be popping up on your. Well, you're not on Fox anymore, but Jean-Pierre, the worst press secretary of.
Bill Barr was on Fox News earlier, and that kind of just ticked me off. But
what did he have to say? Was he?
I wasn't listening. It was just it
against
was
or
pretty much B-roll for the stream. It was just.
Yeah, that would be interesting to know what he had to say.
He's been on the whole time. He's been in the Fox News studios all day today. People are laughing. I would show you the footage we're getting on right side, but they just have a tree branch. Okay, now they have something. It looks. Not really anything. Just people outside of the office. I think that's
still outside the courthouse here in Manhattan.
Yeah, that's their footage outside of the courthouse. Here's a little bit of everything.
So
on this.
Is this the New York Young Republicans protest here, or is this just all sorts of different people all mixed together?
I think it's everyone and everything that's out there in New York, in like the gallery way, so to speak. Not gallery way, but the park area. I think the Young Republicans was earlier today. They had their rally with Marjorie Taylor Greene earlier today, and I don't know if we have her speech still pulled up. I don't think we do. But she actually got mobbed just going out to her car. She could hardly get to her SUV.
When you say mobbed, was it a support? Were they supportive of her or not?
It was all the media. It was every person in the media was just surrounding her, and it's been more than 3 hours.
Yeah,
go back to it.
It was definitely a security issue. I don't think she had the manpower to protect her.
They just had four people around her. She's like 4'11", right? I don't know
if she was my wife, I would most definitely be concerned.
Yeah, it was
especially in that crazy city, dude. That city is alive.
And there was some guy shouting, "Get out of my city!" the whole time, and just
dropping the F-bomb like
to
a madman.
Yeah, to her while she was driving out.
Oh yeah.
Right side was covering it earlier. Rumble streams get erased after 3 hours until the whole VOD is posted, so I can't go back that far and see that again. But kind of watching it. Sam, you weren't on when this tweet popped up from Elon Musk.
Oh, Elon Musk is tweeting.
Why did time travelers keep trying to kill me? I'm just a realtor. And he put in if the Dem Party had a time machine. I thought that was hilarious. I'm sorry. I saw that. We're just watching everything.
Yeah. Elon's got some humor. Yeah, Bill Barr's talking now, actually, on Fox.
Bill Barr.
Does anyone care?
He's an empty suit, isn't he?
Does anyone care about Bill Barr? Let's be real. We can listen in.
He wrote a book and lied about
we're going to have a lot of heavy breathing about a lot of legal developments, and it's unfortunate because it'll divert attention from the serious issues that the country face and we have to wrestle with in this election.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point, Brett. And, you know, if you're Ron DeSantis right now or Nikki Haley or anyone else who's thinking about getting into this race, how do you manage this part of the equation?
Well, I think you'll wait for it to pass, really. I mean, look, this event has happened. The arraignment has occurred. There will be motions and news made in the course of the proceedings that might lead up to a trial, if indeed there is one. But during the rest of the time, things will return somewhat to normal. And that once this day and this circus outside the Trump Tower and outside the courthouse passes, we'll be back to a normal circumstance for normal campaigning. Now, the key fact here is that at some point, one of these candidates or someone acting on their behalf is going to have to take the former president on, and to do so effectively. You've seen it done. I mean, Chris Christie did a good job on Marco Rubio a few years ago, which ended up benefiting Trump. Chris Christie this time around seems interested in getting in the middle of all this and taking on Trump. Well, we'll see if he does. But all these are things that are apart from today's events that will unfold or not over time. Remember, we're still very early in this process. An awful lot can happen, and early front runners often go by the board, as we've seen in a number of elections past.
Absolutely. The caveat, though, is that we're dealing with a former president who wants a second term with an interim term that came in the middle. So in many ways, he has an incumbency. But he doesn't. And it makes this just a fascinating process to watch. Gentlemen, if you could stay with us for just a minute, we're going to go to Peter Doocy, who is inside the briefing room and watched that tense exchange that we just played. Let's check in with him now. He's out on the North Lawn. Hi, Peter.
So
Martha, we are all out of chances to potentially hear from President Biden about what's happening in Manhattan because the White House called a lid at 3:12 p.m. That means no more
3:12 p.m.
in the where somebody could shout a question. A few minutes ago, he was meeting with his science and technology advisors about artificial intelligence. There was some shouting at the end. He did not answer anything about this or about the detained Wall Street Journal reporter, which is what reporters were asking about. There has been some chatter in town in the last couple days about the process and about the precedent that this indictment of a former president by a local DA could set. And so that is something that we asked the press secretary about a few minutes ago. Listen here.
Is he concerned at all that a local DA indicting a former president could, down the line, open up the possibility, set the precedent, that local DAs that don't like former President Biden could indict him?
I'm not going to comment from here.
Why don't you have more to say about the Trump indictment?
It is an ongoing case, and I've been very clear about that. We've been prudent about that, not commenting on ongoing cases, and we're going to stick to that. Peter?
And there were some further questions after that about why they'll talk about January 6th, which is still something that there's ongoing litigation surrounding, and they said that was just different. So they are continuing their strategy. It is obviously a deliberate strategy not to talk about this. And not because of the political angle, but mostly just because it is an ongoing case, Martha.
Okay, Peter, thank you very much. Peter Doocy at the White House. We do have some new images to share with you from inside the courtroom. As you know, the cameras allowed in there. We do just have still photos of the proceedings here. The president just sitting at the desk, the defendant's desk, surrounded by his attorneys, who we mentioned before.
His head's turned different.
Bill Barr, you know, you have your own experience with this president. When you look at these pictures, and he has been arrested and indicted and is in this courtroom, what goes through your mind on a personal level?
Well, as people know, I've had my differences with the president, but this situation, I think, he's being unjustly treated, just as he was by the Russiagate scam and the whole idea of the resistance. So I feel bad that this has happened. I don't think it's justified. And
that's a shocking statement.
So at that very human level, I feel bad for him.
What about these attorneys, and what about the choice to bring in Todd Blanche, who people see on the left-hand side of the screen? We're getting a couple different images in here. As I said, very limited ability to take any photos in there. He left Cadwalader, his firm where he was a partner. He said he could not, something along the lines of, I couldn't pass up the opportunity to do this, to handle this. Why do you think he says that?
Because he hasn't worked with Trump before.
You think he'll be sorry? Is that what you're saying?
Lawyers inevitably are sorry for taking on assignments with him. They either spend a lot of time before grand juries or depositions themselves.
Towards the other.
All right, we're just watching him come out of the room here and back into that hallway. So this process is over. We should expect that we're going to see in detail the list of this indictment. Nothing that we've heard so far indicates that there's any big bombshell here. We were told that this was going to be very solid. We were told by Lanny Davis, Michael Cohen's attorney, that we were going to be surprised by some of what we saw here, that there were more crimes than people know in this case. So we're watching to see if we will hear from the former president as he makes his way out of the building, and we wait for this. Andy McCarthy is back with us. Andy, so we wait now for the actual text of these indictments. Your thoughts on where we are at this moment?
Well, for all the people, Martha, who said, you don't know what's in this indictment, we have to wait to see it. It's pretty much, from the way it's been described, what we heard it was. And I think that we should have all of the fright about that we've expressed so far. As I read the New York statute, former Attorney General Barr has made a great point about whether they have sufficient evidence even to win on the misdemeanor. I would just point out with respect to the felony, which requires
of Fox News. J.R. Majewski making a statement now regarding this whole thing. Friend of the program, friend of the whole thing. We have Matt Anderson in the wings as well with coverage from Palm Beach. I want to get this really quick. In 2016, they used the FBI against Trump and they failed. Now they're using Democratic district attorneys. Today is not about justice. It's about left learning from their mistakes in 2016. I hope Republicans don't just commentate this round. We can't afford inaction. Let's see if we can get him in here as well. Matthew.
That was JR?
Yes, sir.
Good for him.
So we have him here. Matt Anderson, he's in Palm Beach, I believe. The connection's very, very spotty, so we're going to try to get him in here and see if he can just hop in.
It's probably like trying to text at a Ohio State football game right now. There's probably so many people there.
Yeah, one place I've never been is an Ohio State football game. Did they put Trump in the SUV already? Did we miss it? Or did I miss it?
I haven't seen anything here. Looks like there's people standing outside all these SUVs here, and there's a big van.
Ben Carson, former candidate for president, of course. Today, I proudly stand with my friend, real Donald Trump. The American people should be appalled by this case of political persecution and outraged by the current state of our judicial system. Join me in praying for the future of our nation. That's Ben
yep,
Carson.
they must have loaded the president up, and he's on.
Yep, we missed it, but he is out. Apparently, no speaking engagement with anything going on. There's a helicopter going above, according to Right Side's stream. A whole lot going on. They are driving away. The DA has not spoken.
Looks like
yet.
A smaller convoy for him.
Yeah. Well, they're trying to get through all on one kind of path through New York. There's a lot of people lined up on the streets there.
Yeah, I guess there's a lot of people.
We don't know if they're for or against. Can't really tell from down here. But the president is
you
going
don't see a lot of Americans.
If he's going by, I guess he's going off to New York, or not New York, I'm sorry, Mar-a-Lago tonight for a press conference there. I don't think they issued a gag order at this point. Gave him a language warning, but I don't think that means much. It's quite the convoy, actually, there when you look at it.
Yeah, now they're starting to add on some cars, I think.
We're all going through and seeing if Matt just rejoins. We're going to see if we can get him on here. If he's able to connect. If not, we completely understand. It's not like cell service is a luxury down in big groups of people. But we're going to try anyway.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy how they haven't been able to figure that out yet.
So Trump didn't speak, apparently. I think he's there. I see a little something in the preview.
I wonder when okay, here we go.
We can see your teeth, buddy.
I don't know if that's going to work.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to stay. And we can't even hear audio, unfortunately, from him. I'd like to see footage of what's going on in New York now. Florida as they're waiting for Trump's arrival.
I'd really like to know what the DA is going to have to say as well.
We're watching that. I don't know. He's probably waiting to speak until Trump does some sort of speech, so there's kind of competing tension there. Nope, and he dropped out again. All right.
Host of the Wally Delinsky, host of very sad, but I forgot the name of his show.
Small Talk, Right Talk, right?
Small Talk, Right Talk. Yeah, it's wonderful, Josh.
Is he popping in now?
He would like to come on in.
We'll send him in the link.
Make sure he gets that link
and if we're just waiting here. We're gonna go play the audio from Fox
to get Trump. But why would he lay himself out on the line this far with this kind of case if he doesn't have? And we were told, oh, wait till you see it, and we haven't seen it yet. We're still waiting. I'm still waiting for this to drop into our system. Why would he do this, Bill?
I don't know. I don't know why he would do it. But obviously, we've been saying all along that politics has had a lot to do with this. He campaigned on going after Trump. And maybe he views himself as delivering on that promise.
All right, we are watching this. And anybody in the control room with an eagle eye on where they're going right now? Are they going straight to the airport or? Okay, going straight to LaGuardia. So we did not hear from the president. We thought we might on his way out of the courthouse, but we do expect that we will hear from him this evening from Mar-a-Lago once he gets back home to Florida, which is now his main residence. And Alvin Bragg is going to speak any moment now. And won't it be interesting to hear how he backs up this indictment, which Andy McCarthy and the former Attorney General Bill Barr have basically taken a scalpel to and say that there's not much there at all. So we'll see what Alvin Bragg, the DA, has to say about how he handles this. Do we still have Britt with us, guys? Okay. Britt, politically, we didn't hear from the president just now. We know that he loves to stop and talk to the cameras. He did, as I said, look extremely serious and somber when he walked into that courtroom. He's been through an experience today that nobody wants to go through. No matter how you play this or try to spin it to your advantage, it has to be a humiliating experience in many ways for him, but he's going to try to make this work to his benefit. What do you expect to hear from him tonight, Britt?
I think my guess is, knowing him, as we all do from seeing so much of him, that he'll be pretty defiant, and he will be saying onward and forward. We're going to make America great again. This isn't going to deter me. It's a flimsy charge brought for political reasons. His supporters will be there in some number, and they will cheer him lustily, and life will go on much as it did before all this, with the exception that, as we all know, something historic and undesirable has happened.
So as I said, thank you, Britt. We're waiting for the DA to step in front of the microphone. We also understand that Jake Gibson, who is our producer, who was inside the room and who we are looking forward to hearing from about the demeanor of the former president and everything that went down in there, and also this list of the actual indictment with these 34 counts, that he's going to get in front of the camera for us shortly as well. So we look forward to that. But here is the president's motorcade as it heads back. And clearly, Britt, this is a moment, as you say, it will pass. Other things will take precedent. But he's the center of attention now in a way that he hasn't been since he started this campaign, Britt.
Yeah, I know, but I guarantee you, no matter what people say, this isn't how he would like to establish himself anew as the center of our attention of our politics. No matter how flimsy the charges, and from all that our legal analysts have indicated, it looks pretty flimsy, this case. Nonetheless, it's, you don't want to go into the courtroom and be arraigned and stand there at the mercy of some judge and possibly later a jury, and with a prosecutor out to get you. You just don't want that. Look, I've been a defendant in a couple of lawsuits, and I'll tell you, they turned out fine. But it was no fun, and I guarantee you, today was no fun for Donald Trump.
Yeah, no doubt. Bill?
I agree. Yeah.
It's hard to spin it into a positive moment, and no doubt, as Britt says, that the president will do his best to be defiant when he speaks tonight at Mar-a-Lago. about this, but it also...
In the state of Florida. Are you there, sir? Not hearing anything. It had green bars for just a second. Had green bars, and now we have red bars, and it's just not going.
Wally
great.
should be.
Oh, a little bit of movement here. Quite the overcast day in West Palm Beach, it appears, at this point in time. No audio. I think he's trying to get it figured out and situated. We'll come back to him. If we hear him, he should be able to talk at any point, so he should be able to just... I don't know, we'll see.
When you have advisors who may be going to work for this president or the next president who know that they might be forced into this situation as well now as a precedent here.
Right. It'll have a tremendous chilling effect on robust conversations and give and take debates within the executive branch, and that'll lead to worse government.
So we watch as the motorcade makes its way now to LaGuardia Airport. You know, this is all going to play out, Britt, over the course of the next several months while the rest of us are covering this election, doing debate I mean, what's the impact of this on a debate environment? If you're on stage with this former president and he's facing several indictments, how do you deal with that if you are, you know, potentially DeSantis or any of these other candidates?
That's a very good question politically, because it goes to the larger question of how do you deal with Donald Trump?
I don't hear audio. See, stable video at this point, but no audio at this point.
You tell him to unmute.
He might be muted. And now we're getting breaking connection again. This is a great game we've got going on here. Seems like there's a Trump flag there, but no audio at this point from Mr. Anderson. All
right, Wally's coming in, so.
Oh, maybe get some audio here, sir. I heard a little bit of something there for a second.
He's got the new MAGA hat.
Yes, sir. That's the newest one for the 45-47. See lots of crowd around him. A lot of people out there supporting Trump. It appears from what I can see out there. I kind of want to join in to hear it.
He has the indictment. Jake and Brian, what can you tell us?
All right, Martha, Jake Gibson is the Department of Justice producer. Jake, what can you tell us about the charges in the indictment?
So 34 charges. They're felony charges for falsifying business records in New York. And then also within that, using those records to help suppress a story that may have done damage to his campaign. Those are the charges, 34 of them. Mr. Trump walked in. Former President Trump walked in. He seemed to have a bit of a swagger. He looked stoic. He looked stone-faced. He pled not guilty.
Angry.
He said not guilty.
He sure did.
At some point, the prosecution brought up all of the social media posts that he has put out recently, including the one where he's holding a bat next to DA Bragg. And the prosecution said this is could be looked at as inciting violence, and they wanted Judge Merchan to. It seemed like they wanted him to give a gag order. Justice Merchan said that no, he wouldn't give a gag order, but he said to Mr. Trump and to his attorneys, I don't want to see this anymore. I don't want to see the next time that I see something like this, I might have a different idea about what I should do. His attorney said that, look, this case they've been investigating this for 3 years. There's been selective leaks that are harming former President Trump, and it's unthinkable that he wouldn't be allowed to defend himself. That is their way of justifying his posts. The judge said that he wasn't sure that justified, if he was inciting violence, right? Later, the prosecution also said that there was a conflict of interest with defense attorney Tacopino, that They just received a letter from Stormy Daniels' lawyer wherein they say that he had had communications with her, and that's a conflict of interest. Tacopino said that no, that he had never met with her, had never spoken with her, that she called his office looking to hire him, spoke paralegal, but he never took her off, he never took her as a client, so that shouldn't be a conflict of interest. Very interestingly, the prosecution wants this to go to trial in January of 2024, and you know what else is in January of 2024 is primary season for the presidential election.
All right, also hopping in here is the newest host on Red Future Radio. Welcome, sir. Wally, welcome.
How's it going, Josh? You doing good, bud?
Doing good. Great to have you.
You as well.
Wally, good to see you, buddy.
You too.
So I'm not sure how much you followed with this. Oh, go ahead.
I was just saying hello.
Oh.
Yeah, Mark's in here as well, Wally, if you didn't see.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, so I'm not sure how much you...
Oh, yeah, got the whole crew.
I'm not sure how much you followed so far. There's 34 counts, felony counts of business. What was the term they used again? Business... I can't remember at the top of my head. One of them is...
It's just documents. I'm pretty sure he basically lying about, apparently, to suppress a story.
Yep. Just now breaking, the proposed trial date is 2024. January of 2024 for Donald Trump. He pled not guilty to all 34 charges. It includes conspiracy in there. What are your thoughts on this Banana Republic trial on Donald Trump?
Honestly, I can't believe, one, they had the guts to do it. But these are trumped up charges, no pun intended. But here's the biggest takeaway I have from today. The two the most scared today are the Clintons and the Bidens. Because now you have and charge, which has never happened before, a sitting president or a previous president, and to pull this kind of thing. Here's the thing. If every single red AG looking at bringing charges on those two families and possibly even the Obamas, problem. We need to start fighting on the right. Start standing up for what is right. And we're today. And everyone knows that I've been a staunch defender of, been his biggest critic. And the biggest problem with what's happening today is the fact that equal justice under the law. As Nancy Pelosi already said and stated, he needs to no, in this country, you are innocent until proven guilty. And those charges are already being put in a way that is completely contradictory to our judicial system until proven guilty. And this is such a flimsy charge. It's disgusting. It's many of the same of our other red candidates, i.e. the little tiny charges. They, want such a bigger problem, like the Blystones, like some of the other sitting governors up on people. And I hate to say it, if you're running for office in the future, you might want to have a good lawyer. The gloves just got taken off.
Absolutely, sir. I'm reading through the charges
100%.
at this point, and you can go on if you'd like, Sam or Mark, either of you. I'm just kind of following here. They put names in here of what happened for each count. They have 34 counts in here. And the full text now released by NBC News of these charges. The people of the state of New York against Donald Trump is the case name. The people of the state of New York against Donald Trump. What are your thoughts on just the wording of that?
It's always like that.
Yeah, it's always like that,
I've
matter.
Never noticed that. I'm sorry.
It's the government. It's the government representing the people against someone who's broken the law.
I guess I haven't ever noticed that before. It's my fault. I'm sorry.
No worries.
But they have Michael Cohen in here, an invoice from October 18th, 2017. Quick question. How many years ago was 2017? It's 6 years, isn't it?
6 years.
6 years.
Statute of limitations in New York is 5 years, is it not? I could have swore that's what I've read there.
Statute of limitations is gone. That's all.
Yeah.
They're not even observing the statute of limitations, which is absolutely baffling. And I believe it was on Crowder I was listening to, so I'm not going to quote somebody. When this was filed, apparently it was within the statute of limitations, but the charge is actually being brought statute of limitations. So there is a big issue. They got plenty of issues. This is going to fall flat. It's a kangaroo court with 12 Democrats that are going to vote to convict him. I think that they're already going to convict him. The problem is now they just made an Elvis, a Jimi Hendrix, a legend, like persona of Donald Trump, which is why they didn't want to do a mugshot. I think I think he should have demanded a mugshot.
Yeah, I said the same thing, Wally.
Is an absolute sham. It's for Staten Island, where it's going to be thrown out immediately because both the judge and the AG in this case both be arrested for there is multiple things that they've done in this that is a absolute it's not in keeping with our modern judicial system and norms are, which everything about the modern judicial system going all the way back is all about the norms ruled on before. We don't just break it open and bring them up on a bunch of misdemeanor charges, and Trump are going to trip the most.
And you're kind of cutting out there, but I think we get the gist of what you're saying and the overall sort of take you have here. And it's a lot of the same thing. There's no way this is prosecuted. There's no way this is taken in and actually charged in any way, shape, or form. No one's going to get charged in this case. No crimes have been committed. Nothing's going to happen. It's all for the talking point that, yeah, hey, look, the president has been indicted, and he is a criminal now. And for the vast majority of low-information voters, they're going to think Trump was charged with a crime. He was found guilty of a crime, and he is a criminal now. I don't know if we can get audio in here. I guess there's no audio, but that's the Trump lawyer speaking to media at this point. On that clip from Fox News, if I can pull that up, that's the crowd. That's the Trump lawyer right there. And there is no audio there of that I can at least find. But it's kind of disgraceful, actually, how it's all for optics and all for looks. And while he's joining back in here, I'll put him up here as well for the last few minutes here. I'll let someone else take the stage.
Josh, you made a good point about the optics here. Most people have no idea what an indictment is, what an arrest is, what an arraignment is, any of this stuff. Mm-hmm. And so, like with an impeachment, they keep saying he was impeached 2 times, and I have people say, well, then why was he allowed to stay president? And you're like, well, because impeachment is the process in the House where charges are, it's basically the process by which they vote to talk about charges and then deliver those charges to the Senate. And then the Senate is the trial. And there's no, it's like impeachment doesn't mean you're forced out of office. Impeachment is that early part of the process, and then you're just removed from office. They think indictment means he's guilty because they don't understand the process. They're so low information, low knowledge about things like this. And most of us were like that too until we got extremely activated. I started, it was Barack Obama's election and then his hatred of America that got me going. But there are still things I didn't understand even when I started to run for the U.S. Senate, like the Central Committee structure of the Republican and Democrat parties in the United States and how that works and how it's manipulated. If more people understood it, if more people understood how the sausage was made, they would vote differently. And we've got to get more people to wake up, not become woke, but wake up to what's going on and how the system is being manipulated.
And the more people understood and more people were engaged, we wouldn't have as big of a uniparty takeover and control of our government because they'd realize what's actually going on and that every R and every D aren't pure opposites and polar opposites and what's the word? Just totally against each other. I don't know. And they actually all work together.
We got to stop looking at politicians as celebrities.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
They work for us.
And the Republicans do a bad job at making them celebrities. I'm not, disagreeing with that at all. I think we should lead the charge on that and stop treating them like celebrities. And yeah, we treat Trumpy Bear like a celebrity a little bit, but I also know we treat Marjorie Taylor Greene like, yeah. I mean, it's something that we need to be careful on.
Well, Donald Trump was a celebrity before he became
True, I guess, yeah. So
right?
yeah.
I doubt his name recognition has changed but a few percentage points from before he started to run until now.
Yeah, obviously,
right?
You knew about Donald Trump.
Yeah, there's a big.
My parents knew about that.
Yeah, there's a big difference there, right? He's had decades of name recognition generation, where these other people haven't, but they get their name recognition through the money and the party and the process and the rigging and the manipulation. And it's if Americans understood it, they'd be mad and they'd be voting differently.
Absolutely.
Which is why the party doesn't want you to understand how it's structured. They don't want you to understand how it works. But we're going to fix that. It's not going to happen overnight, but we're going to fix it.
Yeah, we have no choice. If we don't fix the Republican Party, then obviously, we have no hope.
And I want to.
Well, I mean, there still be maybe a little hope, but you know what I mean.
Really quick, make sure you check out the Grassroots Freedom Initiative, and thank you, Mark, for joining us for 2 hours today.
You're welcome.
It's an honor to have you.
I really do appreciate that.
Yeah, and I am gonna. I'm gonna get out of here and leave you guys to Wally and your other guests. But thanks for having me on.
Yeah,
thank you for joining.
We really
us.
do appreciate your time. The show is wonderful. Make sure you guys go check out Mark's show. It's on Rumble, any other platforms. It's a very good show.
Thanks
got a lot of information.
The United American Show.
You guys, keep it up. You're doing a great job. We need more of this. Everybody needs to be doing this because we need to get the word out every way and any way we can.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Thank you for joining us, sir.
All right. See you guys.
Yep. Thank you, Mark. Take care.
Bless.
You too. All right.
Mark Bakita, the former boss, man. He is a boss man.
Former boss.
You talk about a boss
former
man.
Boss man. I heard that.
Yeah, the former boss man for me, dude.
You're former boss
after a campaign. Nah, I ain't no boss man. But dude, after a campaign event, we'd be hungry, looking for some grub, and go to a nice restaurant, dude. Mark would be getting like 2 sides, 5 appetizers. I wasn't able to drink at the time, so I got a pop. He got a nice 32 ouncer. I mean, it was a great time. Probably one of the best experiences in my life. And I'll never forget old Marky Mark. We really did it up in 2022. It's a great year.
And I meant to ask him. It kept slipping my mind. Is he going to run again? He needs to run again.
No, I try to keep in close contact with Mark as much as I can, and obviously, that's something that I asked a long time ago, and he said if anything came up, obviously he might be one of the first to know, and we're here right now, and I haven't heard anything, and with the new show coming out and everything, I think he's gonna keep doing what we're doing here, and this is just as important as running for office. It's something that I don't know if I'll ever do. You know what I mean? Run for office, especially when you see how toxic it is, right? I do not want to be sitting in a courthouse, right, pleading not guilty to 34 felony charges. Not saying that I'm not that important, but honestly, they're opening the door for other politicians and people running for office and whatnot to have this stuff happen to them. I mean, if they're willing to do it to the former president of the United States, Donald J. Trump, they're willing to do it to anyone. So when they deem you a threat, watch out. I mean, and Wallach, you mentioned about Joe Blystone. They're doing it to him. They did it to him. They're literally not letting him run for office. That's one of the one of the stipulations that he has to follow. So
yeah,
pretty
the
wild.
Blystone thing was a complete hit job. That was the thing.
Oh yeah,
that was a punishment for standing up against the Jim Renaces and I do throw Jim Renace in on that. He is part of that establishment, party. This whole concept that you can go and charge somebody outside of the statute of limitations, there's no precedent for this. This is uncharted waters for this country. He keeps saying, not us in this chat, but this is an attack on our democracy. This is an attack on the republic. This is an attack on our judicial. This is not. I mean, when you got federal prosecutors that couldn't bring charges on, and all they've tried to do for 4 years, and now this guy runs on the idea that he's going to throw Donald Trump in jail and charge him now 2+ years out of being in office. I mean, come on.
Absolutely.
I mean, I guess he could go run a really good campaign and say promise made, promise kept.
I'm going to make this prediction right now, and I made it earlier this week. Governor of the state of New York, and he will win. Bragg will.
Oh, you think he's running?
Bragg will, yeah.
For governor of the state of New York, and I think he will win.
Which is just a shame, to be honest. We are almost up against the 4 o'clock kind of cutoff here. I've got to get moving, so I'll give you two gentlemen, the finest hosts on Red Future Radio, Wally and Sam, the last word here.
Go ahead, Wally.
Guys,
we haven't heard much out of you.
Thoughts are: pray for this nation. Let's take a stand, be very vocal, and don't quit fighting. Red Future Radio that are popping up. No, we're not DW yet, but we're going to get there. These common folks standing up and making a difference. That's what this is all about. And to here and look at the information that's right over here in this box over here, and to see, have a column with common folks' thoughts going across the bottom of the screen. Well, we're calling out the corral, and this today is a very sad day for the United States, but because that man's a fighter, he's a swinger, and he ain't going down without either.
No, I'd be very ashamed if he didn't. But
it would.
Yeah. I guess what I got to say about this, that I know that it's obviously breaking news. It's almost news, like obviously because I've had a break from the podcast, and we've been doing stuff behind the scenes to help out the company and whatnot. But for the most part, I haven't been putting out any content, and I tell you what, it doesn't even feel real. Like when I keep saying I get that emotional feeling in my stomach and in my heart, and literally like my eyes like start to water. I wasn't around during 9/11 and that type of stuff, but you get some pretty crazy things happening when it comes to just your emotional feeling of our state of our nation. You know what I mean? And like literally, growing up as a kid, you think America is the strongest country, the most powerful country. There's nothing to worry about here. You're going to grow up and live a happy life. Who knows? We might even cure cancer or something like that, right? Something brilliant's going to happen in America because we always have, right? Landing on the moon, except we all know that was probably fake. But anyway, you have American exceptionalism. And now you're starting not to see that. And Mike Crispy, the co-host or the host of I think it's like Unafraid or something like that. Life from America has him on a segment for one of his shows. But, it makes you wonder, what's going on with that. And, he made a tweet basically saying how America's experiment, pull that out because, it is kind of tough, but the American experiment is now over from his words. And like, dude, that says a lot, that's a lot. This American experiment was supposed to be an experiment, hopefully a long experiment that lasted a long time. But, obviously you're seeing that it's not, and it could be, falling apart as we speak. And, I'm, 21 years old, hopefully the people are listening are young too. We're young, what's going to happen, what's going to happen in 22 years. And like, you're saving up all this money, right? And you're trying to get a mortgage for a house, or you're going to school. Like, what's all that for? Like, are you doing anything purposeful? Right. So I really think that we should really focus on getting to realize that we need to pay more attention to what goes on in our country, our judicial system, do what we can to fight, and obviously get a lot of these people in our government out of government. And I think some young people would do a lot of justice. And it just, like Mark said it perfectly in the show. And, I'll hurry up and wrap this up because I know we're at 4:00, but there's just two things I want to say. Mark said before the show or on the show, we just have to be more willing to fight and get these people out of office and to get new people in office, because that's the big change we're going to make. And we have to make that change. And I think it's very important. I think it's wonderful he said that. Also, I believe, I've let some of you down, a lot of you down, the listeners and whatnot that have, enjoyed my content, my podcast. But I just want you to know that, people go through things, and doing these podcasts, doing content like this, like it's hard, it's not an easy thing. And it's pretty stressful, especially when you're talking about politics. Like, it's one of the most uninteresting things, especially the people in my age group. But I'm passionate about it. I believe it's important. So that's why I talk about it. And, it's not very interesting. So it's hard to keep on talking about it, especially when you're not getting, I think we do pretty good with the viewership, but you want more and more and more. Right. So, that wore on me a lot. There's some other things going on in life that kind of wear on you. So I just needed a little bit of a longer break than the first break that I took, that I probably should have took much longer. But, it is what it is. And we're going to be having breaks. And you can't do this nonstop 24/7 and not have any type of other thing going on in your life. That I can tell you, your brain will be fried, and you just won't be happy. So that's another thing too. I want to get into, streaming, just video games or something like that, and be fun, be happy and not worry about all this doom and gloom and crappy thing that's going on in our country, because, people are really just tired of hearing about that. And, I'm tired of honestly talking about it, but I can tell you that we're still going to give you the news. We're still going to fight for our country and do what we can to try to make this country better, try to fix our political parties, or hopefully just get rid of them totally, because I believe they're a big problem. And, together, I think we could all fight and get rid of them. And hopefully, by the time we are 25, 26, 30, whatever it may be, 10 years from now, we can, do what we need to do and live free. But so I got to end this live stream here. Josh left me with, and I'm pretty sure we're going to be ending here, but I do appreciate all your guys' time and, willing to listen to the podcast. Please give Wally said, please give a prayer to President Donald J. Trump. I hope that he is able to, overcome whatever he's going through. There's a lot of things happening in the world. His leadership is very, very important. And I hope that we can, have it in 2024. And he can keep this train moving, because it is the Trump train. I'm very happy to be a part of it. Obviously too. And one more thing, and I mentioned in the beginning of the show, and I just want to make sure people don't, ridicule me for this. And, I think everybody should be, obviously not judged, but, especially when you're in positions of powers, if you do something right, you need to be criticized, or it's wrong, you need to be criticized. And, with the vaccine situation, I criticized President Trump often, I even liked and enjoyed and almost tweeted, retweeted Stu Peters' tweet, when Stu Peters basically says the only thing I think Trump should be going to jail for is, endorsing and, helping create the mRNA experimental vaccine, which I kind of find true, because, I'm not very happy for what it's doing to our population. But anyway, obviously, this man is a big threat to the deep state, to the people, to the powers that be, to the people trying to control us and what we do. We really need to rally around him. Obviously, you learn and you hear politicians, or they'll always sell out, blah blah. And me, I was almost like certain that Trump was getting ready to like completely go. You know what I mean? Sell out completely. When 2020 got over and stuff like that. And I almost had it embedded in my mind. I'm like, I'm about to take all this Trump. I have Trump stuff up. I have Trump bobblehead behind me. Obviously, I haven't, been totally off the plate, but I was like right there, But, you just got to be careful making decisions, and, stuff happens. You got to let things play out. There was probably things he was saying because it's not that he had to, but he just obviously thought it was the right thing to do. And, that's fine. And we got to give him, that credit. or, give him that, credit, basically, was what it is. But anyway, I do appreciate, everybody listening and supporting the Red Future Radio Show, or the Red Future Radio Network. I enjoy these live streams. I hope we're able to, get some other things coming out recently, so we can, get some funding rolling our way, and we're able to do a lot of things. Like right now, after this live stream, I could have been on my way to Mar-a-Lago or, Manhattan. So, it is what it is. But obviously, you got to have money to fund that kind of stuff, and it's not cheap, especially in today's world. But I do appreciate your guys' time. Thank you so much for listening to the stream, and I look forward to next stream.